People versus Ethan Crumley, case number 2022-279-506 FC.
Thank you. Good morning, council. Appearances for the record.
Karen McDonald on behalf of the people of the state of Michigan.
Thank you. Mark Case on behalf.
Recording in progress.
Williams on behalf of the people.
Paulette Michelle Lofton on behalf of Mr. Ethan Crumbley, who's standing to my left.
Amy Happ on behalf of Ethan Crumley.
Good morning, Your Honor. Deborah H. McHelby, court appointed lawyer guardian ad litem for Ethan Crumley.
Thank you. With that being said, you may all be seated. Before we get started, there are a few things that I need to state for the record. It's my understanding that there will be at least 2 minor witnesses testifying in this case. I will note that to the media that's in the courtroom, when the minor witnesses are testifying, you are not to video record or photograph their faces. I will allow you to have the audio recording of their testimony, but you shall not video their faces or photo their faces. And so that should not be done throughout this case. I will note that the people will identify for the record before a minor witness is called. And so that way you are placed on notice. With that being said, to those in the courtroom, I understand the sensitive nature of this case. And I'm going to ask everyone, because this is court, to please maintain composure. If you do need to step out of the courtroom, there is a composure room outside of this courtroom where you all can go and try to compose yourselves and return to the courtroom. However, I can't have any outbursts because we need to make sure that we protect the integrity of these proceedings. And so I will ask you, if you need to take some time, please feel free to take some time in the composure room and then return to the courtroom if need be. I will also note that please do not record these proceedings using your cellular phone. If I see anyone with their cellular phone out and it appears that they are recording these proceedings, your cellular phone will be taken. With that being said, people, any preliminary issues or statements that we need to address?
Thank you, Judge, and I appreciate the opportunity to have a conference in the court's chambers. One thing that we did not discuss, we're asking the court to take judicial notice of the prior placement hearings and any court hearings that occurred from the pendency of this case up until today as well.
Thank you. The court will take judicial notice of such.
Thank you, Judge. We do have prepared a exhibit binder for defense as well as the court. Been speaking with defense in chambers. It's our understanding that the exhibits will be admitted, so I'll make a general statement of admissibility for exhibits 1 through 62. And as the court stated, I will notify the court prior to extremely sensitive information and photos, images being broadcast on the screen of the presentation of our case. That way we will ask the court to request the media not to film or broadcast those images in any way, Judge.
Thank you. With that being said, defense, any preliminary issues or statements?
Yes, Your Honor, that is correct. We also have an exhibit binder for the court when the court is ready. We would be admitting defendants exhibits A through W.
Thank you. Are those also stipulated?
They are.
Yes, Judge.
Thank you. With that being said, people's, and you stipulate to people's 1 through 62.
Yes, Your Honor, I would just ask the court to note my previous objections that were filed in a motion and the court ruled on them.
Thank you. The court notes your previous objection. The people's exhibits 1 through 62 are hereby admitted as evidence. Defense exhibits A through W are hereby admitted as evidence. That being said, any other preliminary issues from defense?
Your Honor, I know that this is very different from a trial, but we are asking the court to consider allowing Mr. Crumbley to be taken out of all of the chains and handcuffs.
Thank you. Respectfully, I'm going to have him still in the chains because this is considered an evidentiary hearing. And so this is not a trial. And so he will remain in chains. However, he can have one hand that's unhandcuffed so he can take any notes or communicate with counsel.
Perfect. Would the court like me to approach with the exhibit binder? I
Yes.
don't know if you already have the.
I will take binders from both the people as well as defense.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Thank you. That being said, any other preliminary issues from defense?
Your Honor, I plan on using the PowerPoint, the TV in my opening. So I know we tested it yesterday. We should be good, but I may just need a moment once it turns to my turn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that being said, people, do you wish to present an opening statement?
We do, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may.
Your Honor, my name is Karen McDonald and I represent the people of the state of Michigan. The hearing today is the most important legal proceeding in the lives of nearly everyone in this courtroom. It is incredibly important for the defendant. His life is at stake. But everyone else is here in this courtroom today because this defendant made the decision to kill 4 other people and to take their lives instead of his own. Injured several others and terrorized hundreds. So the hearing today is just as important to these victims as it is to the defendant. And it is important to this entire community. Almost all of us have come to believe that a juvenile sentenced to life without parole should be exceedingly rare. And I believe that. I embrace that. I want to be clear that we acknowledge that we bear the burden of proof and we have a heightened standard when we ask for a juvenile to be sentenced to life without parole. As this court knows, you must consider the mitigating factors set out in Miller versus Alabama, and we also embrace that. There has been a misconception that charging this defendant as an adult and charging his parents is somehow inconsistent. That is not true. They are charged for doing two different things. This defendant has already pled guilty to killing the 4 victims who died, shooting 7 other victims with the intent to kill them and terrorizing everyone else who was at Oxford High School that day. He's the only one who pulled the trigger. The parents are charged with involuntary manslaughter for their gross negligence in buying the obviously troubled son a gun, for not securing it safely, and then for not doing anything about it when they saw the defendant's drawings on the day of the shooting. They are not charged for being bad parents, and no one is saying they pulled the trigger. What we're saying is they had an obligation to the students who died, and their gross negligence resulted in those students' deaths. Neither one of them gets a pass because of the acts of the other. The defendant does not get a pass because his parents were grossly negligent. He is the one who researched and planned and carried out the shooting. And they don't get a pass because they gave their son a gun that he used, knowing he was a danger to use it. Each of them is only being held accountable for their own actions. It's important to be candid about what we do and do not know about this defendant. No one can tell us what he will be like in 40 years. None of us have a crystal ball, and we are not going to present any witnesses who will say there is 0 chance of possible rehabilitation. No one can say that for sure. But this hearing is not just about the defendant's potential to be rehabilitated. It starts and ends with proportionality. The court has to consider the Miller factors, but also every facet of the offender and the offense, and that's what we will present to you in this hearing. This is an offense unlike any other in this country or state has ever seen, not just the number of children who died, but the way the defendant killed them, the amount of research and planning and preparation that went into it, and the way he carried it out, the picking and choosing of who would die. The video of the shooting doesn't have audio, but you will have no trouble interpreting the defendant's demeanor as he kills people and kids in that school. The way he walks up to them and fires at point blank range, the way he takes a shooter's stance in the middle of a hallway to kill Tate Meir. And this is an offender like no other. The video of the defendant torturing a 1-day-old baby bird shows that he is capable of a level of violence that most humans are not. And he takes joy in it. And he recorded it. The way he researched and planned the shooting, the way he thought through the weapon he wanted and how he got it, the way he researched and knew that Michigan does not have a death penalty, and that he stated over and over, I know I'll spend the rest of my life in prison. And one of the most extraordinary things that makes this defendant different than any other mass shooter in this country, as far as we know and can tell, is that he decided in advance that he was not going to kill himself. And he researched response times to make sure that he surrendered before the police arrived. And he did not because he wanted to witness. He stayed alive because he wanted to witness the suffering he created. When the United States Supreme Court and the Michigan Supreme Court talk about the rare case and the defendant, this is the one, Your Honor. Finally, we seek to present this evidence to the court in the most respectful way we can to the hundreds of victims in this case, the parents who lost their children that day, and those that are here with scars and bullet holes in their bodies. Your Honor, there is only one way to do that. It is painful and gut-wrenching, but the way to honor victims is the very same thing, Your Honor, that is essential to this court making its decision on whether or not this sentence of life without parole is proportional. Your Honor, this is it. We must tell the truth. Our witnesses must tell the truth, and they must tell all of it. We must have the courage and strength to listen and view the facts despite how horrifying it may seem. That is what we are called upon to do, and it is the only way to do so with the utmost respect that these victims deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Defense.
You know, if I just have one moment to make sure that
Absolutely.
PowerPoint.
Good morning again, Your Honor. I want to first go over the law that we must use during this hearing. We're here today because of the case of Miller versus Alabama. That's a U.S. Supreme Court case from 2012. They held that juveniles facing the most serious penalties must be individually sentenced, and courts must have the opportunity to consider mitigating circumstances. Those are chronological age, family and home environment, circumstances of the crimes, not the facts, but the circumstances, incompetencies associated with youth, and the possibility of rehabilitation. We also look to Montgomery versus Louisiana, a U.S. Supreme Court case of 2016. A lifetime in prison is a disproportionate sentence for all but the rarest of children, reserved for those whose crimes reflect irreparable corruption. 2021, People versus Bennett. They state that nearly every situation a sentencing court is asked to weigh in on the appropriateness of a life without parole sentence will involve heinous and oftentimes abhorrent details. The fact that a vile offense occurred is not by itself enough to warrant the imposition of life without parole. A court must undertake a searching inquiry into the particular juvenile, as well as the particular offense, and determine whether this is the truly rare juvenile for whom life without parole is constitutionally proportionate. And most recently, in People versus Taylor, the Michigan Supreme Court held in 2022 that when a prosecutor seeks to impose life without parole for a crime committed by a juvenile, the prosecutor bears the burden to rebut a presumption that life without parole is a disproportionate sentence. The standard for rebuttal is clear and convincing evidence. Clear and convincing means that the evidence is highly and substantially more likely to be true than untrue. Your Honor, this hearing is not like something that we are used to. Usually when the prosecutor and defense stand before the court, we're here for a trial. And in that scenario, the prosecutor has to prove each and every element beyond a reasonable doubt. This hearing is distinctly different. Mr. Crumbly has already pled. He raised his right hand. He told this court that he was guilty of committing all 24 counts against him. We are here today because the people filed a motion for life without parole following that plea. We must move away from the trial mentality and into a sentencing phase. The facts of this case are difficult. They're unpleasant, unnecessary. The images that you will be shown are not something you are ever likely to forget. But through the evidence, through the witnesses and our experts, we believe that the court will agree that the people are not able to meet their burden in rebutting the presumption against a life without parole sentence. The experts and witnesses that will come before you will not give you an excuse for Ethan's actions. They will give you an explanation as to how Ethan ended up with a weapon in his hand on November 30th of 2021. As Jillian Peterson, a nationally recognized expert on the psychology of school shooters, concluded when called by the people at a Daubert hearing in the case of Jennifer and James Crumbley, there is a common misconception by the public that mass shooters are evil monsters who simply snap and commit a shooting one day. At the end of this hearing, we will be asking for the imposition of a term of years because it will be clear to you that 15-year-old Ethan Crumbley is not one of those rare juveniles that is irreparably corrupt and without the ability to be rehabilitated. Thank you very much.
Thank you. People, you may call your first witness.
Thank you, Judge. People call Lieutenant Tim Willis. We have a PowerPoint presentation, if I may.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Detective, if you could, please approach the witness stand. You're then going to stand in the witness box, face my clerk, please, sworn, sir.
Please raise your hand. Under penalty of perjury, you swear or affirm the statement you're about to make to this court will be the whole truth? Yes. Thank you.
Sir, if you could, please state your full name for the record and spell your last name.
Timothy Willis, Willis.
Thank you. People, your witness.
Thank you, Judge. Sir, when you're ready, could you please state and spell your full name for the record? Oh, sorry. Excellent. Thank you. Sir, I first want to ask you how you're employed.
I'm a lieutenant with the Oakland County Sheriff's Office,
Okay, and how long have you been a police officer?
over 27 years.
What's your current assignment?
I'm a lieutenant in the a detective lieutenant in the Investigative Forensic Services Division.
And sir, can you tell me please what your general job duties are?
So I oversee, our computer crimes unit, our warrants division, our fugitive apprehension team, and our special investigations unit.
Now, you've been a lieutenant since 2016, is that right?
That's correct.
Sir, I want to direct your attention right to November the 30th, 2021. Do you remember that day?
I do.
Were you working on November the 30th?
I was.
Do you recall where you were when you were notified of a shooting at Oxford High School?
I was in actually at the prosecutor's office discussing another case.
Tell me please, about what time were you notified?
I think it was about, the day was kind of crazy, but I believe it was around 1 o'clock.
And when you received the notification, what do you do?
I left the prosecutor's office, immediately made a phone call to try to confirm the information. I got confirmation immediately. I then got into my detective, which is just a Chevy Traverse with just some lights on it, and proceeded directly to the Oxford High School.
When you say proceeded, can you tell me about that drive, please?
It's a little blurry. I don't recall all of it. I do remember the route I took, and I remember going up M24, and it was chaos. There were cars, police cars, emergency vehicles, and personal vehicles, all flying to that scene, which was kind of shocking to me. I mean, I typically expect cars with lights on it to do that, but once I realized, or I actually followed a civilian car to the scene, and I realized it was an off-duty officer that came from home.
Was he looking for his child?
Yeah.
Now, as the lieutenant in charge of the special investigative unit, when you arrived on scene, would it be fair to say that you were one of the ranking officers when you arrived?
Yes.
Okay. Is that how you came to be the officer in charge of this investigation?
Yes. It's understood at the sheriff's office that major crime scenes will be handled usually by the special investigations unit. And the fact that I was the lieutenant of it, it was how I became the OIC in that case.
Now, can you tell us, please, what does it mean to be OIC, or officer in charge?
So the officer in charge of the investigation, basically, especially with one this size, hands out the assignments, follow-up detective work, be it interviews with witnesses, collection of evidence, or determining what evidence needs to be taken and analyzed forensically or otherwise. We also work with gathering, putting together reports, reviewing all the reports, talking with the prosecutor's office, and help assist in determining charges.
So for lack of a better term, you were running the show as far as the investigation is concerned.
Yes, sir.
You ever seen anything like this?
Not even closer.
Now, there was a massive amount of this evidence in this case. Now, is it fair to say that you reviewed all of that evidence, at least in a supervisory role?
Yes, sir.
And as part of your duties as lieutenant in your division, you also supervise the computer crimes unit. Would that be right?
That's correct.
Okay, and so what do the computer crimes unit detectives do?
So they handle any electronic evidence that we may take as a course of an investigation, and then they forensically analyze it, meaning to hook it up to their systems, to obtain images, pictures, videos, recordings, text, a lot of different ways to get into either computers, phones, or tablets.
Okay. And now you're aware that the defendant's cell phone was seized when he was arrested on November the 30th?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And it was the computer crimes unit that conducted that forensic analysis?
Correct.
Okay, so when we proceed with our presentation today, when we refer to evidence found in the defendant's phone, it would be computer crimes unit who actually did the physical extraction?
Yes, sir.
Well, sir, I want to take you right to the scene, November the 30th. If you could please tell us the names of those who were killed.
Excuse me. Kate Muir, Hannah St. Juliana, Justin Schilling,
Take a moment, sir.
Tim, we've never done anything like this. It's okay.
Madison Baldwin. I'm so sorry.
Who was wounded?
Phoebe Arthur, Elijah Mueller, Riley Franz, Kali Osage, John Asciuto, Molly Darnell, Aiden Watson.
Person who committed these murders and attempted murders in court today?
Yes.
Please tell the court what he's wearing today.
He's sitting next to counsel. He's wearing orange jail uniform.
Now, with the record reflect identification defendant for this hearing.
So reflected.
Now, detective, the Oxford High School is equipped with surveillance cameras. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And that covers both interior as well as exterior footage.
Yes, sir.
And in fact, there's over 90 cameras in that school.
Yes, sir.
And they were operational on November the 30th.
Yes, sir.
Now, as part of your investigation, your duties as the officer in charge, did you review the surveillance footage of the interior of the school on November the 30th, 21?
I did. Yeah.
Okay. Now, you also reviewed eyewitness statements and things of the like?
Yes, sir.
Based upon that investigation, are you able to tell us where the shooting started at Knoxville High School?
Yes, sir.
May I approach the witness, Josh?
Yes.
Lieutenant, all of these exhibits have been admitted. I'm going to give you a binder for you to refer to.
Okay.
First, I'll direct you to the screen here. This is people's exhibit 1. Can you see that, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And this is a map of the layout of the Oxford High School. That'd be right.
That's correct.
And the highlighted portions, what significance is that?
So the highlighted portion is what's referred to as the 200 hallway, and that's where the entire shooting occurred within that highlighted area.
Now, this is a zoomed portion of that, and we have exit doors identified. Is that right?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. So door 7 is on the left next to room 256, 249, then moves on to door 6, door 5, and door 4.
Correct.
So where did the shooting first start?
The shooting began, the defendant exited the bathroom just above room 258 there on your left. He made a left-hand turn out of that bathroom and began shooting.
So your best,
There's something. We can see.
are you able to see this now?
I
This
can.
is 258 right here.
That's correct.
Okay, and the bathroom is signified here with laser pointer.
That's correct. He exited that bathroom, turned left and began shooting.
Now, sir, he was in the handicap stall before he exited the bathroom. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And is this photograph from the handicap stall in that bathroom?
Correct.
And these are been identified as the defendant's items.
Correct.
Okay, tell us what was found in that stall.
Miscellaneous homework papers or work papers from school, a hardbound journal, leather journal. Some wires from, power cords from computers and things of that nature.
Did you examine those papers found in the backpack?
Yeah, the assignments, yes.
Okay, tell us what of note, if anything, was discovered on those pieces of paper.
I believe there was 93 pieces of paper somewhere in that area, over 90. And on those over 90 pages, there was over 50 images of guns drawn.
Now, there's no evidence that any teacher or administrator saw those particular pieces of paper, is that right?
No evidence, no.
Okay. And you said there was a handwritten journal?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's People's Exhibit 3, that's been admitted. Have you read that entire journal?
I have.
Now, if the journal were to be photocopied, how many pages would it be as far as the actual written portions?
22.
And out of those 22, the first written page has a drawing of a rocket, am I right? And a quote from a book.
Yes, sir.
Now, the remaining 21 pages with actual content. Can you tell me how many of those 21 pages refer to the school shooting?
Every single one of them.
Were you able to identify that journal as being written by the defendant?
Yes, sir. How's that? Several reasons. It was found amongst his items there. His name was written throughout it. We later will see another assignment where we've seen his handwriting on, and that matched the handwriting in the journal. It also references events that occurred at the school with the deer head weeks prior, the bird head prior, the fact that his father purchased a Caltech. So
you're able to tell from the overall context of the passages that it was in fact the defendant's and he did in fact write it.
yes.
I'm going to refer to portions of his journal and feel free if you have written notes in front of you to refer to it.
Okay. Yes, sir.
We're going to start with page 22 of Exhibit 3. Looking at the screen, sir, can you tell us please what the defendant wrote?
Yes, he wrote, excuse me. I want to shoot up the fucking school so badly. Soon I'm going to buy a 9mm pistol.
Now, further down on page 22, can you please tell us what the defendant wrote?
Yes. Ready and the 9mm ready. Then I walk behind any girl, pretty in parentheses, and shoot them in the back of the head. I will then shoot anyone I see, aiming for the head until I have to reload. I will then find a full class.
Lieutenant, the defendant indicated he wanted to aim for the head and then turn the firearm onto classrooms.
Yes, sir.
First, I'm going to refer you to exhibits 4, 5, and 6. Those are the autopsy protocols of the murdered children. Sir, you reviewed these?
I have.
Now, out of the 4 murdered children, how many were shot in the head? 3 of those individuals were shot in the head, is that right?
That's right, yes.
And then out of the 7 wounded, an additional additional 3 were shot in the upper extremities, neck, face, or head area. Is that right?
Correct.
Now, he also wrote in the passage about wanting to turn the firearm into the classroom. Did you find evidence in the school that the defendant actually did that?
Yes, sir, we did.
We're going to refer to you to Exhibit 8 on the screen. What is this photograph of?
So our forensic lab who processed the scene, that is a rod that indicates the direction of travel from a fired round. So as you can see, the fired round went through that the little steel barrier outside the door, 247.
And this is classroom 244. What are we looking at here?
A similar thing, but this time it went through the glass.
And this is classroom, or this is office 224, and this is Miss Molly Darnell's. Is that right?
That's correct, sir. And there's 3 rods through that door, indicating 3 rounds penetrated that door.
And this is classroom 223. What are we looking at here?
Yeah, that appears to be a round that didn't penetrate all the way through the door, but was obviously shot at.
And then 220, what do we have down here?
Again, we have an additional round that was fired through a door.
Finally, classroom 215.
Yeah, we have 3 more rounds fired into the glass partition outside of or in the classroom, I should say.
Now, Lieutenant, it's true that each of these 6 classrooms were occupied by children hiding at that point in time. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, I'm going to refer back to page 22 of the defendant's journal. Can you please tell the court what the defendant wrote?
I will continue shooting people until police breach the building. I will then surrender to them and plead guilty to life in prison.
Baxter, how was the defendant apprehended?
He just prior to deputies' arrivals, he placed his the gun on a garbage can behind him, got on his knees and put his hands straight up in the air.
So that was directly after he executed Justin Schilling and Keegan Gregory ran for his life. Is that right?
That is correct.
Is there any evidence that the defendant tried to run?
Not at all.
Didn't try to fight?
None.
So in fact, he did a complete surrender like you wrote.
Absolutely.
Now, at that point, the point he surrendered, was there anybody else left to shoot?
No, I mean, at that point, he had, after Keegan Gregory ran out of the bathroom, there was no one left in the bathroom. He came out. There was, the hallways were obviously clear except for law enforcement coming down the hallway. And that was, so there's no more victims for him to.
So at the time the defendant opened the bathroom door and placed his gun on top of the trash can, the police were not next to him. In fact, you couldn't see them at that point.
That's correct.
Refer you to page 21 of the defendant's journal. Can you please tell us what the defendant wrote here?
So in the margin there, it says, I wonder what life in prison will be like.
And then throughout this page, does the defendant write a list of items it appears that he plans to take on November the 30th?
Yes,
Tell us about that, please.
it says 1 9mm pistol, extra mags. And then to the right, it says half blood, and the word underneath that, it says fuck. And then 2 to 5 Molotov cocktails, 1 to 3 powdered, I believe it's NOS flares, pair of gloves, a hat, jacket, mask, knife.
Now, Lieutenant, I want to take you back to the photograph of the defendant's backpack in the bathroom.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned these cords, these wires. Did that cause the investigators concern when they initially appeared on it?
Yes, so to explain, our first step is to identify and locate the shooter. That was done. Once he was in custody, we also look for secondary shooters and, any additional type devices. But we also try to identify victims and sweep the rest of the building. During that sweep, that's when this was discovered. On or around that time, we also became aware of the YouTube video that the defendant made throwing Molotov cocktails. There was some concern by the officers who approached that there may be some secondary device in that bag,
Second device meaning what?
an explosive device. So we notified the Michigan State Police Bomb Squad. They came in to X-ray it.
Of course, this all occurred before anyone ever examined the journal, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Now, he also wrote about a hat, a jacket, is that right?
Yes, sir.
In reviewing the video, did you discover the defendant changed his appearance before the shooting?
Yes, prior to going in, he has a gray hoodie on, his backpack, no hat. He comes out, it appears that hoodie was just flipped inside out. He dropped his backpack and he's wearing a black knit cap.
Now, page 21, the defendant indicated a date and a time, and then read the passage right underneath that.
Date is 11/9/2021 as of 2:13 p.m. I want the world to remember me.
Now, we talked a little bit about how computer crimes is the division of the Oakland County Sheriff's Office responsible for a forensic examination of digital evidence such as the cell phone. And the defendant's cell phone was seized and searched pursuant to search warrant. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, understanding that you're not personally a computer cell phone forensic examiner, you did review the entire extracted download. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, did you uncover, and your detectives uncovered in the course of reviewing that cell phone extraction, a text message thread between the defendant and another juvenile, who we will not name? And that text message thread in particular was over 20,000 texts in total. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and if it were to be printed out, it would be over 5,000 pages.
Correct.
Okay. Now, first, for the record, Judge and for counsel, we have exhibit 15 is the copy of the full file extraction. That's on a portable hard drive. Should either party wants to refer to it, for the court review it.
Thank you. So noted.
Thank you, Judge. Now, in the course of this investigation, Lieutenant, were the defendant's parents' phone seized and searched as well?
Yes.
Okay. So we also have exhibits 16 and 17 for their cell phone extraction should either party or the court need to review that, Judge.
Thank you. So noted.
Lieutenant, for the record, exhibit 18 is an isolated portable hard drive of that text message thread that we recovered. It's between the defendant and the other juvenile. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And again, you've had the opportunity to review those text messages.
Yes.
I'm referring you to the slide. This is a text message from March 17th, 2021, sent at 12:41 a.m. to 12:46 a.m. UTC -4. And for the record, every text message has a date, the corresponding page number to exhibit 18. And this time has been converted from UTC to Eastern Standard Time. Is that right, Lieutenant?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Please tell us what the defendant wrote here.
This is why when you die, you need to be remembered for a long time. Doing something that will make people think about you until time ends. Unless you do something that will make people remember you. Like people remember King Henry or Cleopatra or even Hitler. If you want to be remembered forever, how would you want to be remembered? As a smart and heroic person or someone who massacred people and scars other people's brain of your life?
At that point, the other juvenile replied, smart and heroic, probably. And then how about you?
And the defendant replied back, not for me to say.
Okay, so this was in March 17, 2021. And this theme of wanting to be remembered, is that repeated throughout the defendant's journal?
Yes, sir.
Moving on to page 19. Please tell us what the defendant wrote.
Killing myself is too much of a pussy move. People will just forget about me and I will have never making an impact in this world. The only way is to shoot up the school.
Further on down page 19, can you please write the defendant, read what the defendant wrote. Start with I'm going.
I'm going to rain fucking fire down on this school. I will cause the biggest school shooting in Michigan's history. I will kill everyone I fucking see.
And finally, page 19, the bottom.
I want to be remembered through all of history.
Flip please to page 18 of the defendant's journal. This is the top portion of page 18 of the defendant, right? Could you please read that passage?
I just saw a group of girls sitting down in the hallway. If I had my pistol on me, then I would have not hesitated to blow both of their brains out. I would just hope their parents will feel the sadness and distraught. When I shoot up the school, I hope that every parent of kids I gratefully murder will be so sad that they kill themselves. I want all of America to see the darkness in me. I want to impact the world with this. I'm going to record the shooting so when they show the video in court, everyone can see their children and friends dying. I want for the parents to see their kids burned to ash and bawl their eyes out. I'm going to spend the rest of my life in prison, rotting like a tomato.
Oh, sir, that page isn't in there, is that right?
That's correct.
In fact, there's a drawing right underneath that.
Yes, sir.
Tell us please what we're looking at.
It's a drawing of a hand extended, firing a round into the back of presumably a young female.
And what did the defendant write about that?
The first victim has to be a pretty girl with a future so she can suffer just like me.
Lieutenant, who was the first person shot?
BB excuse me, BB Arthur.
You know where she was shot?
In the face.
We're moving now to page 17. There's a part here that's redacted. And we redacted the name of a different school shooter. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Can you read the remainder of that?
He is my idol. I want to do what he did. I want America to hear what I did. I know that rarely only shootings have happened in Michigan, so that means I will cause the largest school shooting ever in the state. I'm not going to kill myself. I will surrender to the police. I wish to hear the screams of the children as I shoot them. All I need is my 9mm pistol, which I'm currently begging my dad for.
The defendant actually eventually obtained a 9mm pistol.
Yes, sir.
Okay, approach the witness judge.
Yes.
You- It's already been admitted. As well as evidence left.
For the record, is that People's 19?
That is just thinking.
Thank you.
Sure. What is exhibit 19?
It's a 9mm semi-automatic pistol.
Now, is that actually the murder weapon from November the 30th, 2021?
It is. It was the weapon used and the weapon recovered that day.
When was that gun purchased?
The Friday just prior to the shooting.
It would have been November the 26th, 2021?
Yes, sir.
And that was purchased from a firearms store in Oxford.
Correct.
Who was the registered purchaser of that firearm?
James Crumbly.
And that's the defendant's father.
It is.
Were you aware that the defendant was with James Crumbly when that gun was purchased?
We came to know that, yes.
Now, sir, you were here when the defendant pled guilty on October the 24th of 2022, is that right?
Yes,
And so you heard his statements in court.
yes,
Is it true that the defendant stated that he actually gave his father money for that gun?
correct.
He actually picked out that gun.
Yes.
Did you uncover evidence that this defendant posted pictures about that firearm on social media after it was obtained for him?
Yes, those were recovered off his phone.
Okay. Now I'm going to show you what's already been admitted as 20. This is a post from the defendant's Instagram account. Can you please tell us what the caption is on the photograph the defendant posted?
Just got my new beauty today. Heart eye emoji. Sig Sauer 9mm. Ask any questions, I will answer.
And that was taken November the 26th, 2021. Is that correct?
Yes,
And this is another post that the defendant posted to his Instagram account on November the 26th, 2021. Is it the same caption?
it is.
Again, is this the same weapon that we've identified as the murder weapon, exhibit 20?
Yes, sir.
Now, this is another Instagram post. The defendant posted that picture November 26th, 2021. And same caption on this photograph.
Yes.
What do you note about this particular picture?
He has some, it appears to be some knowledge of how to handle firearms. His finger, which is very important when handling firearms, is outside the trigger guard. He is lining up the sights. You're trained with those kind of sights specifically to line them up 3 in a row. If you think of them like 3 equal light on equal sides, equal amount of lights on equal sides.
So that's the correct way to aim that firearm. Am I right?
Yes.
And finally, Instagram post that the defendant posted on November, this is November the 27th, the next day, 2021. What was the caption on this picture?
Took my new SIG out to the range today. Definitely need to get used to the new sights. LOL.
Now, in the extraction, this forensic extraction of the defendant's parents' cell phones, did we find evidence that the defendant's mother posted about going to the shooting range with the defendant as well?
Yes, we did.
All right. Now, this is from Jennifer Crumbly's Instagram, and this was posted November the 27th, 2021. What did the defendant's mother post?
Mom and Sunday testing out his new Xmas present. My first time shooting a 9mm. I hit the bullseye.
This is another picture of a target.
Yes, sir.
Same caption referencing his new Xmas present.
Correct.
Again, November 27th, 2021.
Yes, sir.
Finally, on her Instagram, what is this?
That is the this pistol along with those magazines. A picture of him.
And what's the caption here?
Mom and Sunday testing out his new Xmas present. My first time shooting a 9mm. I hit the bullseye.
Now, in a review of Jennifer Crumbly's Instagram stories, was there a short clip that kind of training with a firearm?
Yes, sir, there was.
And in fact, throughout this investigation, was evidence uncovered of the defendant training with different firearms.
Yes, there was.
Now, this picture right here that Jennifer Crumbly posted, this was just 3 days before the shooting. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
First, I'm going to show you a clip from Jennifer Crumbly's Instagram story. This is from June the 22nd, 2021. What's the post that Jennifer Crumbly wrote?
Ethan and James R. Crumbly both got handguns this week, testing them out at the range.
Now, you mentioned that evidence was uncovered that they were both training with firearms.
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's already been admitted as exhibits. And this unfreezes, Lieutenant. I'm going to show you a video from November the 26th, 2021. This is what the defendant posted, is this correct?
Yes.
Oh. Because I believe we have the television, the court's television is frozen. Just give me one moment, please.
Yeah.
This again. This was posted November the 26th, 2021, and the defendant actually posted this clip. Now, before I play the clip, what are we looking at here?
I can't make that out.
Okay, well, I'll let it play, then you can tell us.
We're looking down the barrel of the gun, the weapon used in the
shooting.
murder. Yes.
Now, I'm going to show you a video from November 27, 2021 of the defendant and his mother, Jennifer Crumbly, at a shooting range.
For the record, which exhibit number is this?
That is exhibit 24. What we just saw was exhibit 23.
Thank you.
So we see the defendant with a gray sweatshirt,
Yes.
and that's his mother walking next to him.
Yes, sir.
And the defendant has a target, paper target in his hand. Is that right?
Yes, sir. He does.
Okay. And next to him, has that been identified as the murder weapon that was bought the day prior?
Yes, correct.
Tell us what he's doing, please.
He's inserting the magazine into which is also known as the clip, into the pistol and chambering around, basically loading the gun.
He doesn't have any help with him there, is that right?
That's correct.
As you watch the defendant shoot this firearm on November the 27th, 2021, tell me what comes to mind.
The most interesting thing to me is that obviously this is the first time he just bought this gun, so presumably this is either one of the first times, if not the first time, that he shoots this gun. He understands the basic concepts of shooting. Two-hand grip, arms extended, bringing the sights up to your line of sight.
You've already mentioned the photograph of him lining up those three sights.
Yes, sir.
Kind of retracts his target.
Yeah, so the last round, obviously, after it's empty, the slide locks to the rear. He removed the magazine and retracted the target.
So what are we seeing right now?
Now he is assisting his mother with her turn at shooting the weapon.
Now, when you say assisting, is Jennifer Crumbly showing him how to use it, or is the defendant showing Jennifer Crumbly how to use it?
Yeah, it's clear. I mean, it's evident by the video that he is teaching her what to do.
Video depicts the defendant actually pointing out different aspects of the gun, where to hold it.
If you remember, he loaded the gun, racked the slide, did everything, and he's kind of walking her through the steps now. That's called a slide release, what she just hit that moves the gun forward. And now she appears she doesn't know how to properly grip the pistol.
Comparing shooting stances, who is the more experienced looking shooting stance?
Yeah, experience and more confident looking shooting stances, Ethan, for sure. Pardon me, the defendant.
At this point in the video, his mother actually calls the defendant over to retrieve the magazine.
Yes. So she sets the gun down when she's done. Whereas the defendant, properly unloaded it, left it down.
There's multiple times throughout the surveillance video shows the defendant's mother asking the defendant for help.
Yes, he hears she's still unsure about how to grip the firearm. She's putting her thumb around her wrist and he's showing her, your thumbs forward. 2 hands on the gun, thumbs forward.
And I'm going to move on now to what's been admitted as Exhibit 25. Speaking of videos that depict the defendant training with firearms, in the investigation, the video was uncovered from a different shooting range in September of 2021 when he was at the range with his father. Is that correct?
Yes.
Since September the 25th, 2021.
Yes.
Okay, so what are we looking at on the video right now as I turn it on?
That is the defendant in the black hat, gray sweatshirt, and his father, James Crumbly, in the white sweatshirt.
It appears they're moving from different counters, looking at the items.
Yes.
Now, shooting range, are you able to rent firearms to shoot as well as occasionally purchase firearms?
Yes, you can.
At this point, they have a basket and they're moving into the range. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, earlier you mentioned the Keltec pistol.
Yes, sir.
Is it true that James Crumbly purchased that Keltec pistol in June of 2021?
June, yes, sir.
Okay. Appears to be a pistol in James Crumbly's hip. So this is before the 9mm used in the murder was purchased, right?
Correct.
Okay, so we presume that James Crumbly brought his .22 caliber Keltec semi-automatic pistol to shoot.
Yes.
It appears there's a second firearm on the table of the shooting lane. Would that be a firearm that they rented?
I believe, yes.
Again, who's stepping out first, the shooting lane?
The defendant.
Nobody's showing him how to use that firearm, is that right?
Correct.
This is admitted as an exhibit, so in the interest of time, we'll pause it right here. But again, when reviewing the defendant's shooting stance, does he appear to be confident and experienced?
Yes, he does.
Okay, I'd like to direct you back to the journal. Page 16 of the defendant's journal. You tell us what you kind of wrote.
I plan on dumping Jeffrey's head in a bathroom to hope the stench will reek. I hope that people will talk about it for the rest of the day because I want the attention. However, I do not want to be caught, as that will make getting the 9mm impossible.
Okay. I want to ask you the next few questions as you're thinking about the entire context of the journal, the text messages, and the entire investigation. So the defendant wrote, I plan on dumping Jeffrey's head in a bathroom. Did you uncover, and the investigators uncover, what he was talking about?
Yes, there was an incident where a bird head in a jar of fluid was left by the defendant in the same bathroom that he exited the day of the shooting. But it was prior to the shooting.
Okay, so if I'm correct in understanding, and this was November the 11th, 2021?
Yes, November 11th, correct, sir.
In the context of this passage where he says it would make me getting the 9mm impossible, obviously this is before November the 26th.
Yes,
And then you did come to learn that someone at Oxford High School did uncover a decapitated bird head contained in a jar of fluid from the men's bathroom.
yes,
Defendant was writing about how he actually did that and what he's talking about.
yes,
And this theme is continued on throughout the journal and the text message. Is that correct?
yes, sir.
Okay, we'll get into more detail. in a little bit. So later on, when we get into May of 2021, we'll be discussing the torture or mutilation and killing of baby birds. But this is a different bird, am I correct? Yes. Okay, so I understand he named the bird's head Jeffrey.
Correct. That bird head looked, I don't know birds all that well, but it looked more advanced in age. It looked more like an adult bird than a
Certainly different than the picture of the bird who subsequently tortured.
hatchling. Yeah.
On page 15 of the defendant's journal. Please tell the court what the defendant wrote.
So during the passing time of 3rd to 4th hour, I went into the bathroom and I wanted to dump the bird head on the ground and keep the jar. But there were people waiting, so I put the whole jar on top of the toilet paper dispenser.
In fact, that's where that jar was found.
Yes.
Further on down page 15.
So now I'm pissed because I want to do the shooting with a 9mm pistol, as they are effective for killing. But right now, all I got is a puny 22 LR Kel-Tec that I don't know where my dad hid it.
And underneath that passage, what do we say?
The defendant draws 2 separate rounds or bullets. On the left, a 22 LR long rifle. It says kill range 25 meters max, and then a 9mm Parabellum kill range 100 meters.
Now, Lieutenant, the police officer for 27 years, you're obviously familiar with firearms and ammunition.
Yes, sir.
If you could please tell the court, what's the difference between 22mm or 22 caliber and a 9mm?
Well, the most glaring difference is the size. The 9mm caliber is a much larger round. It has more. It has more impact. It does more damage.
Which round, comparatively speaking, the 22 and the 9mm, be more likely to penetrate a classroom door?
The 9mm. The 22. I'm not a gun expert, but 22s are designed for target practice with paper and or very small game hunting, where the 9mm is essentially a combat round.
So police officers, soldiers with their sidearm, they come with a 9mm handgun.
Correct.
You wouldn't carry a 22 into combat.
Absolutely not.
Now, in the course of this investigation, you and the detectives uncovered internet search history of the defendant on his phone. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you find evidence of the defendant researching different weapons and ammunition on his phone?
We did.
We'll start with November the 29th, 2021, 2:07 p.m. What was the defendant's Google search?
His Google search was type of 22 bullets.
And Your Honor, for the record, when we have item 1, item 12, that signifies the search, particular search in the exhibit for the court.
Thank you. So noted.
Thank you. Now, item 12, on November the 26th, what did the defendant search?
Sig Sauer P365.
Right, and that's 4 days before the shooting.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Now, item 23, on November the 24th, what did the defendant write?
The 24th, he wrote 9mm types comparison. He searched that in Google.
Now, everything that we have here in quotes, that's bolded on the side, those are the defendant's actual words that he typed into Google on his phone.
Yes.
Now, we have a few different items redacted for privacy purposes. Can you tell us what the defendant searched on November 23rd, 2021, which is 1 week before the shooting?
Used firearms, redacted firearms and range.
And what about the next search, item 34?
He typed in used guns, redacted shooting goods.
Now, November the 10th, 2021, 20 days before the shooting, what did the defendant search?
What is a Molotov cocktail?
I'm moving on to item 62, November the 9th, 2021, which is 21 days before the shooting. What did the defendant write?
How deadly is a 9mm pistol?
And October the 4th, 2021, item 99, what did the defendant write?
How many yards away is a 22 effective?
And when you see in type or text, the decimal point and the numbers 22, that signifies a 22 caliber.
Yes, sir.
Now, in the text message thread, did you find evidence of the defendant's desire to own, possess, and use firearms?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm going to direct you to June the 14th, 2021, 5:34 p.m. to 5:47 p.m. Can you please read to us what the defendant wrote?
Yes. We went to the store. That place is fucking cool. They closed soon, so my dad will go up there and do it tomorrow. My dad even said I could get a revolver if I wanted to, like a snub nose one. Yeah, it's just more money. No, I'm not getting both.
That's in reference to a Derringer and a revolver.
Yes. Also for 100 rounds of 22 LR, it's only $15.
Sir, what's LR signify?
Long rifle. And it's only $40 for 50 rounds of 9mm. Every type of ammo there is stupid expensive, expect for the 22. My dad said I can get a gun like this if I want to.
And then he sent a YouTube link.
Yes.
Correct.
The only thing though is that I don't really want to spend $300, but it's worth it, I think.
And Lieutenant, I think it's worth noting that we have quotations, and those are the actual words that defendant text. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, June the 15th, 2021, 9:58 p.m. to 10 p.m. What did the defendant text?
Also, I went to the gun store today and got the Derringer, but it was on a delay, so I won't be able to actually have it until a couple more days. I paid for it, just don't have it yet. I'm so hyped. My dad is also most likely going to get a gun. It's a handgun, 15 rounds, so I will have 2 guns to shoot. I don't know the type, but it's cool looking handgun. It's a magazine.
May I approach the witness, Judge?
Yes.
This is exhibit 27. I'll hand you this first.
Sorry.
Exhibit 27 Here, please tell me what I handed you.
Is the Derringer pistol reference in the messages.
Tell us please, what is that?
So a Derringer is a small firearm, a 22 caliber weapon. This actually has is 2 shots. So after 2 shots, you have to eject the cartridges and reload.
Okay, so the capacity of that is only 2 rounds at a time, and then he would have to reload,
Yes,
and the bullet themselves would be very small.
correct.
Okay. And that was purchased in June of 2021, is that correct?
Yes,
And is that what the defendant's referring to in this text message that we identified as exhibit 18?
yes, it is.
Okay. Now, looking at 28 here. Tell us please, what is exhibit 28?
This is the Kel-Tec 22 automatic.
Okay, and that was purchased by James Crumley in June of 2021.
Yes,
Okay, now that's a semi-automatic handgun,
it is.
but it doesn't have the same sort of power as a 9mm, that'd be right?
That's correct.
And that's because of the type of caliber bullet.
Yes, sir.
Now, I'm going to show you 2 more text messages and then 2 videos.
Okay.
So moving on to June the 29th of 2021 at 2:42 a.m. What did the defendant text?
Thing is, I had like over $1,000 before the Derringer, but now I only have like $800.
What about July the 29th, 2021?
He says, I want to get the Glock now. The only thing is they're like $500 and 9mm is expensive AF as fuck. Shotguns are cool. Yeah, but Glock,
Referring to Glock.
yeah. Yeah, but Glocks are lightweight and shoot fast. It's like my type of gun for safety and not to shoot at the range. Kel-Tecs are really fun to shoot. When I shoot my dad's last time, I barely got any kickback.
From the context of these text messages, the defendant is actually paying for those firearms.
Yes,
Now, moving to August the 10th, 2021. Can you please read what the defendant wrote?
I got my Derringer back and some more ammo.
About August the 19th, 2021.
He
So
po-
the defendant sent a video to his friend? Okay.
Yes, he did.
And then what did the defendant write?
Shoot that Sunday.
And then August the 20th, this is just after midnight, another video was sent.
Correct.
And what did the defendant write?
My dad left it out, so I thought, why not? LOL. Just kidding. Not just kidding. I know gun safety, so it's no problem. Now it's time to shoot up the school. Double emoji, and then a series of JKs, which reference just kidding.
I'm going to show you those videos I referenced. Just bear with me, I believe I have to unplug this, plug it back in. Sure. This is June, this is exhibit 29. This was sent in that text message conversation, June the 16th, 2021.
Yes.
It appears to be the defendant's hand with the Derringer in his hand.
Yes.
What's he doing with it?
He's dry firing it,
What does that
meaning
mean?
there's no rounds in it. He's just cocking the weapon and pulling the trigger.
I'll show you now exhibit 30. This is from August the 20th, 2021.
That was a video of the Kel-Tec. He slammed it down to insert the magazine and then hit the slide release to move the round forward, or to move the slide forward.
You say the Kel-Tec, we're talking about what's been emitted here? Is
Yes.
Exhibit 28?
Yes.
Okay, let's kind of, now I want to move Direct your attention to page 14 of the defendant's journal. Okay, we will read the passage.
So I'm very optimistic. Every night, I'm not sure, awake. Every passing minute, I think about how many potential people will die.
I think about how I'm getting closer to prison and how many potential people will die. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, I got it. So I'm very optimistic. Every night, I'm not sure, awake. Every passing minute, I think about how I'm getting closer to prison and how many potential people will die.
Okay, now further down the page, what did the defendant write?
The security guard, so no one knows that, put the bird head in the bathroom. It just amuses me how I can cause people to talk about what I did, and it makes me happy. Once I do the shooting, it will go down as one of the biggest school shooting in American and Michigan.
Now, the defendant writing about spending his life in prison, going to prison, is this a theme that you found throughout the journal?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you also uncover, when reviewing the defendant's internet search history, was that theme prevalent there as well?
Yes, it was, sir.
I'm going to direct you to a few different internet searches found in the defendant's browser history. November 29, 2021. This is 8:45 p.m., which is the night before the shooting. That's item 5. Can you please read what the defendant wrote?
He Google searched, what is the worst prison sentence you can get in Michigan?
What about item 9?
He wrote, what is a life sentence for a 15-year-old?
That's what he actually searched on his phone in Google.
Yes, that's what he entered, correct.
And this was 1 week before the shooting.
Yes.
What about item 11?
What is the sentence for a life to fit for a 15 to life?
Again, that's 1 week before the shooting.
Yes.
Moving on to item 12, again, 1 week before the shooting. What did the defendant search?
He searched, what is the legal age to be sent to prison?
What about item 13, also 1 week before the shooting?
Michigan Youth Correctional Facility.
And there actually is, in the state of Michigan Department of Corrections, there's one facility that houses youthful offenders. Is that correct?
Yes.
Item 15, again, 1 week before the shooting, what did the defendant search?
What prisons are there in Michigan?
Moving on to item 16,
Has anyone ever been executed in Michigan?
he searched that 1 week before the shooting.
Yes, he did.
Item 17,
What states have the death penalty?
again, a week before the shooting. And
Yep.
what about
Yes, sir.
item 19? It's redacted, and what part is redacted here?
The name of another school shooter.
Of a different convicted school shooter from another state?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what did he search regarding that individual?
Is redacted, sentenced to death.
Now, what about item 22? That he searched 1 week before the shooting.
He searched, what is the maximum death penalty?
And November the 6th, 2021, this is 24 days before the shooting. What did the defendant search?
Is Michigan a death penalty state?
I want to refer you back to the journal on page 11. Tell me when you're ready to read that passage.
I started making a plan. It was a plan to kidnap, rape, and kill her. I talked to
Jack the name.
find out where she lives and found out she lives a 5-minute walk away from me. I made this plan to break in the BR bedroom at night and kidnap her with an industrial-sized garbage bag. I would then take her to my basement where I would torture and rape until I slit her throat alive. I was so close to executing the plan, but fortunately, my friend redacted, stopped me very calmly.
Now, this plan that he referenced, that was regarding another student in Oxford High School.
Yes, it was.
And did this come through in his text messages to that other juvenile as well? I'm gonna show you some
Yes.
of those text messages. This is May the 12th, 2021, 11:23 PM. And this is in reference to that same individual that he wrote about in the journal.
Yes, sir.
Tell us please what the defendant wrote.
Kidnap her, then tie her up, then rape her, then torture her, then kill her, then dissect her, then take her eyeballs, then bury the body.
Okay. On May the 20th, 2021, he was still writing about this.
Yeah, he quotes, "I'm not going to get caught, man. I'm going to bring my gun just in case. Full air and pellets. Basically deadly. But I have full plan on how to kidnap her. It's just super risky."
Now, you uncovered evidence in this text message thread of the defendant's desire and discussion of committing violent acts towards other individuals as well,
Yes.
specifically towards children in this portion of the text conversation. This is March the 16th, 2021. Please tell us what the defendant wrote regarding drowning children.
Just looking them in their eyes as they look back at you while they know that their entire life is about to end so young. The best feeling. But stick your fingers into their eye sockets and push down so they scream in pain and drown their lungs with water. Just thinking about the torturing and the screaming and the way their excuse me, and the way their legs flail in the air as they cry, it fills the void.
This theme about violence towards children, this continues, is that right?
Yes.
This is again, March the 16th, 2021. Can you please start with the first text message that he wrote?
Whenever I see a little kid about a year old or a little more, I want to pick them up and run off with them and then torture them before throwing them off a cliff.
What about April the 25th, 2021?
I will kill any innocent. I don't care who I kill. I will kill who I feel like killing. Age, gender, I don't care.
May 13th, 2021?
I don't care about innocent. Killing the innocent is the same as killing the bad. It's both satisfies.
I'm going to direct you now to a text from February 21st, 2021. Of course, this was a month before the shooting. This is in the midst of a discussion about wanting to stalk and kill people. What did the defendant write about that?
Scary thing is, I like being this fucked up. I don't know if you do. Some people don't, but I like it. I like being like this, which is fucked up. And then he responds to us, same. I love the darkness. It feels good. Knowing that you're different from society and not some mindless human like all the others. We have the ability to stuff that other people think is wrong, and we can tell ourselves that it's okay. But I want to do bad. It satisfies me.
Again, that was written in February of 2021.
Yes.
Lieutenant, I want to direct you back to the defendant's journal, this time on page 8. Starting with
Last
you please read that.
night, I made a plan on my phone of what I'm going to do. It's printed out in 5th hour. Never mind, the colored printer in my hour is out of paper. So I'll just have to plan. I will just have to have the plan on my phone.
Now, Lieutenant, in the context of the rest of the journal, it's apparent this passage is referring to the school shooting on November the 30th?
Yes.
Okay. So was evidence found on the defendant's phone that he downloaded a map of Oxford High School?
Yes, sir, there was.
And then was evidence uncovered that with that map, he actually modified it and marked that map up on his phone?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to direct you to the screen here. And this picture, this was found on the defendant's phone. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And so we have certain portions here with different colors.
Yeah.
We have
Yes.
blue markings on the exterior of the school. We have a purple circle. We have black lines. Can you tell us, first of all, what do these blue lines signify?
Those denote the exits at the school.
Now, this was actually found as modified on the defendant's phone, meaning that he's the one who actually put those drawings on.
Yes, sir. Okay.
And what about this purple circle here? Does that signify anything?
It denotes the area where the murders began.
Okay. And again, he put the severed bird head that he called Jeffrey. He put that bird head in this bathroom right here, adjacent to room 258.
Yes.
Okay. And that's the same bathroom that he exited before he began the shooting.
Yes, sir.
And that's contained within that purple circle there.
Yes, sir.
Now, sir, the evidence showed that this occurred, this download and this modification occurred November the 10th, 2021. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, I want to direct you to the defendant's internet search history at that time. So specifically, the first text here, November 10th, 2021. He entered into Google Oxford High School layout. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, and that's November 10th at 11:10 p.m.
Yes.
Okay. And then based upon the cell phone forensic data, we know that he uncovered a clean copy of this map, but then modified that some minutes later.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I want to talk about the searches he conducted directly preceding that. So when he downloaded the Oxford High School map, that was item 19. The search directly before that was item 20 on November the 10th, 2021. And what did he search there?
What is the average response time for a shooting?
And directly before that, what did he search?
How many police do schools have in Michigan?
And directly before that, what did he search?
Do school resource officers carry guns?
And then finally, right before that, what did he search?
What is a school resource officer?
Okay, so the order of events that he started with, what is a school resource officer? And then he continued until he obtained and modified this map. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and that was a full 20 days before the shooting.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to move to page 11 of the journal now. If you could read that passage, please.
I killed 8 infant baby birds by slowly torturing them until death. If I would have never thought of the brilliant idea of shooting up the school, then I probably would have become a serial killer. And I don't know which one's worse, LOL.
That's page 11. I want to direct you now to page 6. And this theme of the birds continues. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Last time I had my mental breakdown, my parents were out of town. I murdered an entire family of 5 newborn baby birds. I drowned them and burned them alive while we all screamed. I cut one in half and stuck the head of its brother in its stomach. I have completely lost my shit. My grades are falling. My parents hate each other. We have no money. I have zero help for my mental problems, and it's causing me to shoot up the fucking school.
He talks about in that journal torturing and killing baby birds. Was evidence uncovered that he actually did that?
Yes, there was 2 videos found on his phone of where he was torturing baby birds.
And then was there also a discussion in that same text message conversation about that?
Yes.
I'm going to direct you to a text message from April the 17th, 2021. Can you please tell us what the defendant wrote?
I want to take the axe and chip a baby bird, chip a bird in half.
Okay. April the 25th, 2021. What did you write?
Shoot it, torture it, dissect it. I want to chop it in half with an axe.
And that leads to a discussion with that other individual about catching and killing a fish.
Yes.
What did the defendant write then?
I want to kill it while it's alive so it can feel the pain.
Now, May the 1st, 2021. What did the defendant write?
Also, there is a baby bird's nest right next to my house with 5 baby birds in it. I can also reach them. 3 double emojis. Tomorrow, I'm making my move. I will get video and pics. I can't wait till tomorrow. There is 5 and they're going to die anyways. I want to take something heavy and break its beak. I can't wait, dude. I'm so fucked up. I'm going to break its beak, then chop its head off. I'm going to take so many vids and pics.
Next day, May the 2nd, 2021, this conversation continue.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I want to hear it scream. The first bid, though, I want to torture it. And it's so young too. Like it's just born and already going to be killed. It's like 2 days old. I'm going to snap the beak off and then chop its head off. Then take out its heart. Then chop it into pieces. And also take out the brain. Then smash it into little bits. I'm so fucked up, I like it. Jeffrey Dahmer got the good idea. Only thing he did wrong was get caught.
Also on May the 2nd, 2021 at 4:33 in the afternoon, what did the defendant write?
I want to kill another bird so badly, or baby bird. I can reach into the nest. They're not safe.
The next day, May the 3rd, 2021, what did the defendant text?
During third hour, all I thought about was ways to torture the bird. I'm going to film this like a documentary. My dad is pulling out of the driveway right now. I'm going to wait a couple minutes though, just in case he comes back.
Okay, you said there were 2 videos uncovering the defendant's phone,
Yes.
and then the defendant texted about what he did afterwards.
Yes, sir.
May the 3rd, 2021,
I just,
very graphic, but go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just finished. The vid is too long, so I can't send, but I can send pics right before I throw it out. Pictures were sent.
You sent pictures of that individual?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please continue.
I cannot wait to show you the vid. It's so fucking disturbing. And as I don't even remember saying half the stuff. Like I talked to the bird like a little child while torturing it. I can't wait to show you, dude. It was so fucking fun, dude. This is the,
Thing is,
oh, I'm sorry. Thing is, the vid ends halfway through, so you don't see the good stuff. I put a drill in its stomach and skull. I also shot the gun at it a couple times in the stomach and in its head. I also chopped it in half with the axe. I also smashed its head with the hammer at the end of it, and at the end, and its eye bulged out, just like Glenn's.
what's Glenn in reference to?
The TV show The Walking Dead.
Okay, character on the show?
Yes.
Okay, continue, please.
Like the eyelids came apart and I could see the bird's eye. There are still 3 birds left. I was originally going to try and stick a toothpick up its ass, but I couldn't find any. God, I can't wait to show you the vid. It's 8 minutes long. Like I couldn't stop laughing my ass off when I rewatched the vid.
Lieutenant, you reviewed the evidence on the defendant's phone. You've reviewed these 2 videos he references.
Yes.
For the record, Judge, for the court's in-camera review, pursuant to the court's order, those are exhibits 37 to 38.
Thank you. So noted.
I'm not going to show you any images from the torturing, but I'm going to show one still shot of what the bird looked like prior to the defendant committing these acts. Now, so we understand what we're going to see. This isn't a full-grown bird, am I right?
That's correct.
Tell me how old it, obviously you're not a scientist, you didn't study birds, but can you give us an idea of the age of the bird the defendant tortured?
Yes, I mean you'll see it's pretty apparent it's a hatchling or recently born baby bird.
Okay, and for the record, this picture is before he began the torturing, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so this is exhibit 36, and that's still shot from the video that the defendant took. And this is right before he began what he described?
Yes.
Now, again, we're not going to play the video, but we do need you to tell us what's in it. So can you please tell us what you saw?
The video has the defendant in a shed, and he takes the bird with a pair of kitchen tongs, removes the bird and puts it on a workbench, and then like he referenced in his message, talks to it like a little child, calls it, "Hey, little buddy," and things of that nature.
With that sort of inflection in his voice?
Yes. He uses initially he grabs a a small butane lighter, torch lighter, and lights it on or burns it twice to watch it squirm. And you can hear the bird squeal, the baby bird squeal and chirp. He then takes a knife and tries to saw off one of the legs. He breaks the leg, but he doesn't saw all the way through it. He then grabs a flathead screwdriver and tries to take off one of the wings with it. He jams it in and tries to wiggle the screwdriver so the wing comes off. Periodically, he would pick the bird up and place it in the water, replace it in the water to see if it would drown or move or what it would do. The bird would lay motionless for a while, and once it would start moving again, he would move on to the next area of torture. One of the last things he did was tip a drywall screw, about a 3-inch drywall screw, and impaled it. Obviously the little bird has a big belly, and he states he wanted to see what was on the inside of it, so he impales it. Continues to hammer until it's all the way through the bird, picks the bird up with it, twists the screw, flicks the bird off.
This video is about 8 minutes long,
Yes,
and you can hear the bird audibly chirping for a portion of the video, is that right?
yes, it appears the bird is alive. Basically the entirety of the video, all 8 minutes.
And the video did cut off about 8 minutes. Then he took the second video,
Yes,
and that was much shorter.
yes.
And what did he do in that video?
This video, the head was already separated from the bird. And he took a ratchet and smashed the head in beak.
Now, we talked a little bit about how the bird appeared to be alive. The defendant was speaking to it at that point, right? In fact, he was saying things like, "You're alive. Let's go, champ. You're still alive. You're doing it, right?"
Yes. How does that wing feel? How does that broken leg feel? He was enjoying it.
And squeeze that bird between his fingers too, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Now, you've been an officer for a very long time. Ever seen anything like this?
Never. It's obviously the torture's disturbing enough. The commentary throughout, the inflection, the knowing, the prior passages and the enjoyment this brings the defendant is, you can't put it into words.
Thank you, and I'm sorry that you had to watch that. We had to describe that. Want to move to additional text messages with the defendant discussing general torture, killing of animals and people. Can you read what the defendant wrote on May the 3rd, 2021?
Yes. Also, most serial killers get their damage from their family or accidents, but I have no trauma from my past. I was just born this way.
And then May 13th, 2021, the defendant's still talking about the bird, correct?
Yes. This is what I meant the other day of how I need a recharge to kill again. Now, tomorrow, I really want a bird, but I want it to be alive when I chop its head off.
That was May 13th, 2021.
Yes,
That was 10 days after he filmed himself torturing the one we just referred to, is that right?
correct.
Okay. Now, the following week, May 21st, what is the defendant text?
God, I want to kill right now. I hit a bird yesterday 2 times, but it flew away.
And this continues even long after that video was taken.
Yes, sir.
June the 30th, 2021, what did the defendant text?
There have been no baby birds to torture in for a long time, and I'm getting that feeling where I need to kill again.
Again, June 30th, 2021 at 12:30 a.m. What did the defendant text?
I like killing the big birds, but I like the killing of the baby birds more. Mostly because they're so young and they had a whole life ahead of them, but then I took it away. That is what I like. And also they're helpless and they scream when you hurt them.
Well, this is nearly 2 months after the video that they've been portrayed. the bird. And this theme talking about the innocence, babies, this continues throughout, this phone continues throughout his journal.
Yes.
I want to direct you now to page 6 of the defendant's journal. Can you read us? We're gonna go page 6 and then page 3. Can you read us what the defendant wrote? Page
Yeah.
6.
Fucking N-word bitch. If I kill myself, then people will not care about me and I will be forgotten within half a lifetime. That's why I'm going to cause the biggest school shooting of this decade and the only real one in Michigan.
Now further on page 6, what did the defendant write?
Not sure if I'm going to kill myself during the shooting, but I also want to react on how the world reacts on my shooting. I'm probably going to live the rest of my life in prison. I hope I can talk to someone though, so I don't take my anger out on other prisoners.
And now page 3 of the journal.
I don't care about my grades no more. I'm about to shoot up the school and spend the rest of my life in prison.
Now further on that page. Starting with first.
First off, I got my gun. It's a SP 2022 Sig Sauer 9mm. Second, the shooting is tomorrow. I have to access the gun and ammo. I am fully committed to this now. So yeah, I'm going to prison for life and many people have about 1 day left to live.
You wrote, I have access to the gun and ammo. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, yes, if I didn't say that. I have access to the gun and ammo.
Now, it's apparent from the context of these pages in the journal that we're getting closer in time, November the 30th.
Yes.
Right? Because he obtained the SP 2022 Sig Sauer 9mm, and that's the actual model number and caliber of the murder weapon, right?
Yes.
He obtained that, thank you, and he obtained that on November the 26th of 2021.
Yes.
Okay. Now we're going to page 2. Please tell us what the defendant wrote there.
I was just looking up some bullet calibers in ELA and got called down to the office for it. I wasn't even scared. I was almost about to say I'm shooting up the school.
Okay, he actually did get called down to the Oxford High School office on November 29th, 2021. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, ELA, that's a class that he was in that day.
English language arts. Yes.
On November the 29th, school administrator called Jennifer Crumbly, his mother, and left her a message about the defendant looking up bullets while in class. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, continue on page 2. Can you please read us what the defendant wrote?
This is the last passage I will write. It's currently 29/11/2021, 1:23, exactly 1 day before the shooting.
Shooting began at 12:51 p.m. on November the 30th. So he's literally correct, exactly 1 day before the shooting. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, on November the 30th in the morning, you learned that the defendant was called down to the office again. Is that right?
Yeah.
And you know why?
Yes. A teacher saw concerning written words and drawings on his assignment.
I'm going to refer you to exhibit 39. So in the morning of November the 30th, a teacher noticed the defendant with this paper in front of him, and she took a picture of that paper and emailed it to administration.
Yes.
Okay. And then the defendant was subsequently removed from class and taken to the counselor's office. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
But by the time he got there, he had changed this drawing. Is that correct?
Yes. So it appears the teacher took a picture of it, sent it up. He was, prior to being called down to the office, he modified it.
Oh, he being the defendant?
The defendant, yes.
What's significant to you in this photograph, in this picture?
There's a picture of a pistol, which is very similar to the murder weapon that we showed earlier. There's an image of a body with bullet holes and bleeding from the head on it. And then there's obviously a bunch of different writings reference his life is useless. The thoughts won't stop. Help me.
And then once he was caught, he
Yes.
modified it to this. This is exhibit 40.
Yes,
What do we see here?
he scribbled out the firearm and the drawing of the person who was suffered the bullet wounds. Scratched out some of the sayings that he had written. Wrote on there a video game this is. I love my life so much. OHS rocks. We're all friends here. Harmless act.
Now, from your review of the surveillance video from November the 30th, 2021, and right now we're talking about before the shooting started. The defendant was called down, was taken from his room, his classroom, to the counselor's office at 9:14 a.m. on November the 30th. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And a counselor named Sean Hopkins called Jennifer Crumbly on 9:24 a.m. and left her a voicemail.
Yes.
She returned that phone call at 9:27 a.m. to Mr. Hopkins. Is that right?
Yes.
Both James and Jennifer Crumbly then had a conversation amongst themselves and arrived at the school at 10:37 a.m. and shown to Mr. Hopkins' office where the defendant had been waiting, and that was at 10:40 a.m. Is that correct?
Yes.
They had a meeting in Mr. Hopkins' office until 10:52 a.m. when the defendant is seen on the surveillance video leaving the office and going back to his class.
Correct.
The defendant's parents left the building at 10:53 a.m. and drove away in the same car. Is that correct? Yes. But even before the defendant was seen with this math worksheet, even before we sent down the office, he sent one last text message. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I do want to make a note so we're clear. The individual that the defendant was texting, that we've been referencing the text message conversation, that individual did not have access to his phone from at least October the 30th, 2021. So any text message sent to him after that date was not read or received. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. So I want you to read what the defendant wrote that other juvenile, November 30th, 2021, 8:21 a.m.
Hey man, times have gotten rough ever since you left. I don't know if you are dead or you moved away, but I hope you're doing well. I'm about to do something really bad and there's no turning back, so I'll probably never be able to see you again. I hope the best for you. I'm sorry for anything I've ever done.
So we know he was removed from class at 9:14 a.m. But he had sent this about an hour before that evening.
Yes.
And in the entire text message conversation that we identified as Exhibit 18, the defendant never tells that other juvenile his plan to shoot up the school. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. What time? Shooting started at 12:51 p.m.
Yes.
Okay. Judge, in a minute, I'm going to play the surveillance footage. I'll ask the court to instruct the media not to broadcast any images on this. And I also want to let the victim's family know that in a minute, we're going to play that footage. So if anybody lets that
Thank you. At this time, this would be the appropriate time to step out if you do not wish to view this video, as well as to those of the media. Please do not broadcast this or photograph this in any way, shape, or form. That being said, people, you may continue.
Thank you, sir. Take me a moment to. Okay, Lieutenant, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the video for you. And then play it all the way through. I have 3 screenshots isolated, so then you can tell us the names of the children so we can identify them. On the video, of course, it doesn't show Dustin Schilling being executed because that happened in the bathroom. It doesn't show Molly Darnell being shot because she was in her classroom and the video in her office. Thinking the video was cut off at that point. Is that right? Okay. So this begins at 12:46 p.m. This is the 200 hallway. We're looking at the bathroom we've been talking about in classroom 258 next to it.
That's correct.
But just let us know when you see the defendant walk in the bathroom.
He's about to head into the bathroom right now wearing the red backpack.
And the video will jump to 12:50, then I'll stop asking you questions. You see him going to the bathroom at 12:54. See, after he already walked. He ran out of targets, he ran out of people to kill at that point in the hallway.
Yes.
Video's motion activated, so it skips a little. That's 12:56. So there's a student running for his life. Well, 57 and 59 seconds. Lieutenant, we saw two deputies come in about 12:57, 12:58.
Yes,
You've been a part of active shooter training protocols, all right?
yes.
And you talked to the deputies who were on scene that day. You were on scene that day.
Yes.
What was the hardest part for them?
So they were trained to drive right on an active shooter situation, to drive right up to the door of the school, and rush in and listen, look, find stimulus, meaning gunshots, screaming, things of that nature. So you saw the officers when they came in, and they kind of went down the hall, then he came back and made a left look. That was because of the wounded in the hallway outside of the bathroom. And they went up there, got whatever information they could, and the young victims there, are pleading for them to help them. We're trained to push past that. Fine, because he's someone actively killing in the building.
Take a moment, sir.
I know those officers, and the most difficult thing for them, and something we weren't prepared for, is how do you push past a child that needs help? That was the most difficult part, was bypassing her children who needed help.
Thank you. I'll show you some screenshots just so we can identify those who are visible.
Your Honor, could we ask the,
Yes,
Cameras.
again, there's going to be sensitive information shown on the screen. Please do not video record this or take any photographs.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
I'll show you just 3 screenshots. So the 12:51, right, as the defendant exited the bathroom,
Yes,
we have obviously the defendant right here.
yes,
This is Phoebe Arthur,
that's correct.
Elijah Mueller,
Yes,
both were shot, face and neck area.
correct.
John Ashudo, who was shot in the lower extremity as he was running for his life.
Yeah.
Kylie Osage was shot in upper back, neck area. Riley Franz shot in the neck.
Yes,
Her sister Bella's behind her. Anna St. Juliana right here was murdered. Heidi Allen is walking behind Phoebe and Elijah. And we'll see later on that she helped save Phoebe's life. Is that right?
yes,
Further up the screen, Madison Baldwin was walking down the hallway. She was executed by the defendant in the 200 hallway. Is that right?
yes,
This is Dave here.
correct.
He was shot in the back of the head at a distance of approximately 100 feet by the defendant.
Correct.
When he was on the ground, he was shot again. We have Molly Darnell's room. Is just at the top of the screen. You can see as the defendant walks past, he turns his feet. That's when he fires 3 rounds into that office, striking Molly in the arm as she dove for his life, her life rather. Further down the hallway, after Tate was killed, Aiden Watson is shot because he's running for his life as well, shot in the leg. Then obviously we saw the defendant go in the bathroom when he executed Justin Schilling in front of Keegan Gregory. And we saw him run for his life out of the bathroom. Could you tell me, Lieutenant, if you learned if the defendant took any precautions to protect his hearing before he committed this act?
Yeah, upon arrest, officers noticed he had toilet paper issues in both ears.
So he made his own earplug before he committed the shooting.
Yes,
So we're going to admit, but not show today, the in-car recording of the defendant. That's judged as 42. The booking room and interview room video of the defendant. You've seen those videos though.
Yes.
The defendant displaying the emotion when he was transported from the high school to the substation.
no,
As the officer in charge, you're also giving updates on the defendant as he's been housed in Oakland County Jail for the last 20 some months.
yes,
I'm going to talk to you. I think if defense wants to submit all the records, that's fine with me. I want to talk to you about one specific incident. And that is when the defendant bypassed security on the jail tablet, courtroom tablet, that inmates are allowed to use. Can you tell me about that, please?
yes. So he was given a tablet. Use. EED, there's several reasons they're allowed to use it for. And he was able to access the internet on it and immediately went to a website that we know to be real death, killings.
This is a website, we're not gonna name it. And Detective Rogowski from Computer Crimes, he'll be here later to testify in more broad terms about the forensic download, but that the website, the particular website that he immediately looked at, well, when he bypassed security on the Oakland County Jail tablet, that's the same website that he had reviewed hundreds of times before the shooting.
Yes.
And that website features death, gore, and videos of animals being boiled alive, of school shootings, things that people upload to that website,
Yes. Real life torture, death.
executions.
Yes.
And that's just for the record, that's exhibit 44. It's a Celebrate export from the extraction of that particular tablet. And that indicates also that the defendant, after he viewed that, I believe it was 38 times, he deleted his search history after.
He did. Yes.
And at some point, another juvenile got a hold of that particular tablet, and the other juvenile was the one caught. Is that right?
Yes.
Tell me what happened?
The other juvenile was, after the defendant was done with it, they gave it to the other juvenile. The other juvenile was Instagram living from inside of his room. Our investigators became aware of it, and that's how we tracked it back.
The defendant was interviewed about this incident, and he's the one, he admitted to being the one to put in the password.
Yes.
He admitted to the one, he admitted to not being able to resist himself to go on that particular website.
That's correct. He was asked about it, obviously was concerning that he accessed the internet. So a investigation was conducted and he admitted to accessing the tablet improperly. And then he, when asked about what websites he looked at, told the sergeant what he looked at and said, I didn't want to, I tried to stop it, I couldn't.
So according to the software that forensically examines the tablet, this occurred January 22nd, 2023. That sound
That's
right?
correct. Yes, that sounds right.
So now we are 16 months past the shooting. He's still looking at the violent content.
Yes.
Earlier, Lieutenant, you mentioned, thank you. You mentioned that this scene was like nothing you've ever experienced, nothing you've ever encountered. Just if you could kind of paint us a picture of when you got to the scene. First of all, how many people called 911 that day?
It was over 100, like in the immediacy directly after that incident.
How many first responders arrived on scene?
There's somewhere over 500 first responders showed up.
And over 100 paramedic EMS personnel?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit, if you could, paint the picture for us of what it was like when you got out of your car and you realized that this was a school with children who were shot.
So when I arrived, there was still kids walking down the road. Some without coats, some, they were what I found, because I'm not from that area, I don't patrol that area, but it was the reunification point was the Meyer Super Center there. And so I'm passing all these kids, and obviously that's, again, you see somebody, especially a child on the side of the road, you stop to help. So past all those, we get to the school and it was chaos. It was officers, being directed to search for additional victims. There was just, I've been to a ton of crime scenes where, that have been horrible, and you look, you do your job, and, you meet with the officers and but there was, in this case, it was just this, you looked around and everyone was just, I don't know if bewilderment is the best description, but everyone was just confused and and sad. I mean, it was just a,
That was 500 police personnel. That's off duty and on duty, right?
that's right,
Like you described earlier, a civilian was an off duty officer.
that's right.
Multiple examples of that.
Yes, we have several of our officers that work in our agency that are in that community.
And they responded to the scene.
They know these people personally.
And when they're clearing, looking for an active shooter, they're not supposed to stop at hop, are they?
No, you don't until the suspect's in custody. I mean, I know it sounds callous and awful, but especially the layperson, but you can't allow an active killer to keep killing.
Are you involved with peer counseling and trauma support?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about the impact this has had on the first responders who arrived.
It's hard to talk about how we suffered when I know it's been a lot more suffering. We had several officers that were not ready to come back to work.
Those are officers who've been to homicide scenes. They've been to child abuse scenes.
Those, I mean, as bad as it sounds, you know, a lot of times they're not right, they're awful, but you can make sense out of them. You know, it's something you've witnessed before, what, this made no sense.
Thank you. Before we get across, what we're gonna do is take about a 5-minute break. Who is overseeing the deputies? Captain, if you could please approach. With that being said, if I could have everyone in the courtroom, please be seated. Thank you. At this time during the break, we're going to go ahead and allow if you all could please be seated. We're going to go ahead and allow the deputies to take the defendant back downstairs. And again, we're going to take about a 5 to 10 minute break to allow everyone to compose themselves before cross-examination. With that being said, deputies may take the defendant. Court will stand in about a 5-minute recess, but nobody please rise until the defendant has exited the courtroom, please. Thank you, Lieutenant. You may step down, sir. The court will stand in about a 5 to 10 minute recess. Court stands in recess.
All rise. Your Honor, calling People versus Ethan Crumley, case number 2022-279-506 FC.
Thank you. Appearances.
Chair McDonald on behalf of the people.
Thank you, Mark East, on behalf of people.
Garner David Williams on behalf of people.
Paulette Michelle Lawson on behalf of Mr. Crumley.
Amy Happ on behalf of Ethan Crumbly.
Deborah H. McKelvey on behalf of Ethan Crumley.
Thank you. With that being said, you may all be seated. With that being said, Lieutenant, you are still under oath, sir.
Yes.
Cross-examination.
Thank you. Your Honor, I do believe that my cross will go a little longer than the noon hour. Should I just power through or try to stop around noon?
Yes,
for a
we'll
break?
take a natural break whenever this witness is done. We'll take a very brief lunch break and then we'll continue. You may
Understood.
proceed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Lieutenant.
Morning.
You're the officer in charge of this case, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And because of that, you're responsible for making sure that all of the investigations are done that need to be done, correct?
Yes.
And you make sure that all of the physical evidence that can be collected is collected. And most importantly, you go over all of the evidence before turning it over to the prosecutor's office, correct?
Yes.
You're also involved as the officer in charge on the cases of James and Jennifer Crumbley, is that correct?
Yes.
And in that case of the parents, both James and Jennifer are charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, correct? Is that yes?
I'm sorry, miss, yes.
You would agree with me that the investigation that you did into Ethan Crumbley and the facts and circumstances around his home life and childhood led you in the direction of then investigating James and Jennifer. Is that fair to say?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Sure. Would you agree with me that the investigation that you began into Ethan Crumbley and the facts and the circumstances around his home life and childhood led you to then investigate James and Jennifer Crumbley?
I think that's fair. Yes.
Would you agree with me that it's not often when you're investigating the actions of a single defendant that you would get a subpoena to search the defendant's parents' phones, bank accounts, work emails, HR accounts, contact people that they're having affairs with, reach out to every single neighbor that they have ever lived next to, even outside of the state of Michigan? You would agree with me that that's not common.
Yeah, no, that's not common.
Now, I want to go over some of the evidence that was found in your investigation. I want to first talk about the interviews that were done with the neighbors of James and Jennifer. Your Honor, most specifically Exhibit E in my binder.
Thank you.
Would you agree with me that most, if not all of the neighbors and landlords that your office spoke with were not fond of the Crumbleys? I don't have another binder. I can, because that's our binder. Did you not get to bring the witness up? I did not. Do you have an extra one? I don't, but I can give you my exhibits if you prefer. There you go. Mhm. So just to recap, you would agree with me that most of the neighbors, most if not all of the neighbors and the landlords that your office spoke with were not fond of the Crumbleys?
Yes and no, if I can explain.
Sure.
I think, I don't think most of them really knew much about him, but the ones that did know some things about him had a negative interaction. For the
Correct.
most part.
So there was interviews done of neighbors in Washington. Your office was able to confirm that Ethan was living with his parents while they lived there. Is that fair to say?
Yes,
Okay. And he was somewhere between 4 and 6 years old. Is that correct?
I think that's correct. That seems to be correct.
And you spoke with, or your office spoke with, the landlord in Washington. They called them the neighbors from hell and that they still owed him money, correct?
Yes,
Another neighbor in Washington stated that James would scream at Ethan and a stepchild on a regular basis, and Ethan was always crying, correct?
it says usually crying, but yes,
Another neighbor in Washington said the Crumbleys were always yelling and screaming from inside the house, calling each other names and always cussing. Sometimes they could hear Ethan screaming and crying too.
I'm sorry, where's that at, miss?
I believe it's on the second set of the investigative reports. It's still in that same section.
Yes. I see it, yes.
And that in that same interview, that neighbor felt that both parents were too hard on Ethan. She witnessed Jennifer smack him and drag him multiple times into the house by his arm. Correct?
Yes, smack him, the little boy on the butt, correct. And then drag him into the house by his arm, yes.
Your office also spoke with neighbors in Lake Orion when the Crumbleys then moved to Michigan. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, they did.
All right. Roughly 2013, so Ethan would have been around 7 or 8, correct?
Yes, I think you're correct.
Math is not my strong suit either. Your office spoke with a neighbor who had actually babysat Ethan when his parents went out a few times. Is that correct?
Yes,
And she told your office that James and Jennifer would also leave Ethan home alone with the dog and the ferret and wanted the neighbor to come and check on him, correct?
I'm assuming it's correct, miss, because, but I'm just trying to keep up with you so I can see.
Understand. Absolutely take your time. If you need a moment to review that, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Okay. Do you know what page that's referenced on?
Unfortunately, I gave my copy to
All right.
professors.
Would you like this copy, Ms. Lofton?
That's okay, Runner, but thank you.
Thank you.
I see it, yes, I'm sorry.
That's all right. And in that same report, the neighbor stated she was shocked because parents would leave him home alone at night. Yeah, he has the highlighted copy. Mhm. Let me just look at it to give presentation.
I'm sorry, miss, is this in Orion or is this in Washington we're
We're
referencing?
speaking of Lake Orion.
Like Orion?
Mhm.
Can you repeat what you asked, please?
Sure. The same neighbor that you just agreed with me that she told your office that James and Jennifer would also leave Ethan home alone with the dog and the ferret and wanted the neighbor to come and check. My follow-up question was, the neighbor was shocked that the parents would leave him home alone at night.
Yes,
You spoke with another neighbor in the same complex in Lake Orion, and he stated that the parents were always yelling at each other. I'm specifically speaking of page 5644.
thank you. Correct, miss.
And he remembered a fight in the summer when he had his window open and he could hear them arguing about one of them having an affair or cheating.
Yes,
And he could hear things being thrown and a lot of yelling and screaming.
yes.
That's all from that section. Thank you.
Thank you.
You also spoke to an individual from a bowling alley that Ethan Crumbly played on a league or a team there. Is that correct?
Yes, we did.
All right. And do you recall the discussion with that individual stating that when James and Jennifer would come to watch Ethan bowl, they were unlike most of the other parents. They would drink a couple pitchers of beer. I actually have a copy of that if it would be easier if I approached. May I approach Ryan?
Yes.
Thank you.
Let me know once you've had a chance to review that.
I reviewed. Yes,
Right.
you're correct.
Thank you. Also stated the parents were loud and obnoxious, correct?
Yes, it does.
In your extensive investigation into what Jennifer and James did to occupy their time, it was clear that horses took up a majority of their time. Would you agree with me?
Yeah, I would agree with you. Yes.
And from speaking to individuals at the barn, it was clear that Ethan was not there with James and Jennifer when they would spend hours there, correct?
Yes.
You would agree with me that from looking at the text from both James and Jennifer, that even on the day of the shooting, the horses were a top priority for them.
Yes.
I want to talk about a video that surfaced from the 5-1 diner. Are you familiar with that video?
Yeah. Yes, I'm familiar with it.
Okay. And at some point in your investigation, did you or the officers under you go and actually speak to the owner and operator of the 5-1 diner?
Yes. Yes, they did.
And at some point, did you become aware of a video that actually made its way onto TMZ that showed Ethan falling pretty significantly?
Yes.
And do you recall in that interview with the owner that she recalled that incident as well? It should be page 5724.
Yeah, I got it right here.
Oh, right.
Can you repeat your question, please?
Absolutely. Do you recall that in the interview, the owner of that diner recalled the incident where Ethan fell?
Yes.
All right. And she told detectives that when Ethan started back working after the pandemic in February of 2021, that he complained of headaches and stomach aches and mentioned that he was not sleeping well.
That is correct.
And she also then talked about this fall. She told detectives that she wanted to call 911, but James and Jennifer said that Ethan had not eaten anything that day. He just needed to eat and that they did not want him to go to the hospital to get checked out.
Yes,
And she did not call 911. Is that your understanding?
it's my understanding, correct.
You also had investigators meet and interview all of the teachers that Ethan had while in Michigan. Is that correct?
Yes.
And would you agree with me that the general theme of those conversations was that James and Jennifer were not very involved in Ethan's education?
That's fair, yes.
Your Honor, I'll direct your attention to Exhibit D. I want to first draw your attention to the interviews that were done at Bailey Lake Elementary.
Okay.
And the interview there, the teacher recalls giving Ethan extra assignments to be completed at home. Extra reading assignments were not being completed and that Ethan continued to struggle.
Yes, that's true.
That same teacher also stated that parents were never volunteers, never attended any of the events.
That's what she said, correct.
And she recalls when Ethan was leaving the school district, the parents didn't even reach out to her. Ethan was the one that told her, I'm not going to be in school anymore.
Yes.
I now want to talk about the interviews of the teachers. I believe it's Blanche Sims Elementary School.
Okay.
Isn't it true that the teacher told the parents at parent-teacher conferences that Ethan needed help reading? And the teacher felt that they were not reading with Ethan, gave him the impression that it was the school's responsibility.
Yes, Nancy thought to herself, you could read it. You can at least read to him at home, yeah. And then she states that, yes, you're correct.
Now let's move to Oxford Middle School. It's correct in speaking with the teachers there, that it was indicated that Ethan never had trouble with peers, even though his parents were not present much.
This is,
We're talking about Oxford Middle School. Page 5467,
with the phys ed teacher.
correct.
Yes, the phys ed teacher said he always participated, and never had any conflict with his peers. And he never met his parents and never had any contact with them.
Moving on further then to page 5469. Isn't it true that a teacher reported that Ethan didn't interact with other kids and he struggled with logging onto the system to submit his homework?
Yes.
I'm going to direct your attention to page 5470. Again, these are still interviews with people at the Oxford Middle School. Isn't it true that the teacher stated, it's obvious that parents were not involved, no contact with the parents until the end of the year. This specific teacher emailed the parents when their child needed extra help with math, that Jennifer sounded interested, but then never followed through.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, I then want to move to high school. Isn't it true, after speaking to one of the teachers, that there was an assignment? And I'm looking at page 5590, and then the following page that does not have a number on it.
Okay.
So specifically, the interview, ninth grade teacher Getz, I believe is the last name.
Okay, yes.
And she asked the kids what their physical health was like. How would you rate yourself? How would you rate yourself socially? And how would you rate yourself emotionally? And she recalled that Ethan's response was a little bit different. He stated, I wish my parents were home more.
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit about his report cards that are at the beginning of Exhibit D. You would agree with me that for the semesters 2021 into 2022 year, Ethan had C's, D's, and E's.
Yes.
And if you look at the report card from middle school, which is that first page 433, you would agree with me, as of 1 of 20, he had all A's and B's.
I'm not seeing that, miss.
Page 439.
That's why.
That would be the report card for January 20th of 20.
January 20th, 20. Yes, all A's and B's.
In all the conversations with the teachers from the multiple schools, it was clear that Ethan was not a problem child in school, correct?
Correct. Disciplinary, you mean?
Correct.
Yeah, correct.
Really no misconduct to report until the end of November.
Correct.
And I'm sorry, of what year?
2021.
Thank you.
I want to take some time to go over the journal. I know that you went through specific portions with Mr. Keast, but I think there were some important portions that I'd like to take a look at. So mine are numbered by page. I don't know if it would be helpful to use my exhibit binder, which is exhibit Q. I don't know, mine are not pages of the journal, mine are pages of discovery that the prosecutor listed.
All right.
I apologize for making you fumble with so much paperwork.
It's okay. What is, under what tab? Miss?
Exhibit Q. I'm gonna start with page 775, which I believe is physical page 2.
Which you believe is what?
Physical page 2,
Oh, got it.
775 at the bottom.
Okay.
You would agree with me that on that page, it says, I wasn't even scared. I was almost about to say, I'm shooting up the school. I don't care about anything anymore, except I will very much miss my cat Dexter. He is the only thing I have ever loved in a long time. You agree with me that he wrote that?
Yes.
At the bottom in very large font, it says, please forgive me, correct?
Correct.
I want to go to the next page, page 776. I'm looking at the 4th line down. You would agree with me that Ethan writes, I am actually hoping that I get sent down to the office. That will show them that I have given up and they will keep an eye on me. It will make them see that I am a possible shooter. And so when I do my shooting, they will have something to put for motivation. I have already stopped doing school. So once the school sees my photos of guns and gun ranges on my Instagram, then they will know what's up. Oh man, my hallucinations are really kicking in. I started seeing weird stuff last, I think it's supposed to be week, and now they have gotten worse. You would agree with me that's contained in Ethan's journal.
Yes, I would agree.
9th line down in the 2nd paragraph. My dark side has now taken over. Do you recall reading that?
Yes.
I want to go to the next page. Mine does not have a set of numbers on it, but it's just the next page in the journal. Would you agree with me that that page states the following? Over the weekend, I actually felt warm for once. I woke up from a good dream at 12 o'clock p.m. after 13 hours of nonstop sleep. I put on The Walking Dead and pet my adorable cat. At that moment, I said to myself, why can't everything just freeze right here? I had just hoped that everything could have ended there and not a second longer. Now I'm back in school and back down the drain again. Is that an accurate reading of the journal?
That is.
A little bit lower on that page, 8 lines from the bottom. Ethan writes, I am genuinely surprised right now that none of my teachers have contacted my counselor or sent me to the office for not doing my work. Would you agree with me that that's what it says?
Yes, I would agree.
I'll go to the following page, 778 at the beginning. If you agree with me that Ethan wrote, I just want to go back to the good days when I didn't have a worry in the world. Would you agree with me?
Yes.
A little bit down on that page, another juvenile is named and it says that person is gone. So I have no friends. Would you agree with me? That's the 5th line.
Yes, I would agree.
10th line down, Ethan writes, I talk to no one. I have very little talks with my parents and sometimes talk more to my cat Dexter than people. I rarely talk to when I open my mouth, I hear my jawbone crack and my cheeks hurt. I have no life. And I unfortunately cannot read and no, I think it says future. Would you agree with me?
I would agree.
4 lines down from there in the sentence, in the line that starts laughing. Would you agree with me that Ethan then wrote, I haven't had a real laugh in 4 years. I haven't felt genuinely happy in 4 years. Everyone hangs out with friends, girlfriends. They go to parties and have fun every day of their lives. I can feel the evil around me and even dogs sense it. You agree with me?
I do.
Then we're looking at 2 lines down from there. It begins with all one of my teachers has to do is send me to the office and I will tell them about the bird head and I can get help. One call and that can save a lot of lives. My evil has fully taken over in me and I used to like it, but now I don't want to be evil. I want help, but my parents don't listen to me, so I can't get any help. Would you agree with me that that's what he wrote?
I would agree.
The following page, the very last line, would you agree with me that Ethan wrote, I feel like I'm in a time loop of sadness?
That's how I read it, correct, yes.
I'll go to the next page, 780. Third line down. Do you agree with me that Ethan wrote, I'm pretty sure that my crush does not like me, to what I thought before. I will never ask her out, and it makes me know more that I will forever not feel the love of another human being, and not even I can love myself as I hate myself, probably more than some people already do.
That is accurate.
9 lines down from the end of that statement, would you agree with me that Ethan wrote, I sometimes even regret about doing the shooting. If I don't, though, then what is there for me? 1 line below that, I don't eat at all. I had a frozen food breakfast burrito for dinner last night. Maybe if my dumb fucking parents didn't get rid of our couch and buy a brand new TV and couch set, we could have food. And my 45-year-old dad doesn't have to do DoorDash. I'm on the verge of losing it again. I have so much stuff compacted in a tight space and it's about to explode.
That is accurate.
Please turn off your device. Make it continue.
Thank you. I want to turn now to page 783, a few pages down. I want to start in the middle of the page that begins with fucking college.
Okay.
Oh God, college. You apply to 5 colleges hoping to get accepted into one. Then you get accepted, you get to find out how much it costs to attend. Then if you can go, you really only have 10 major choices out of hundreds that actually leads to a good life. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, you're doing bad in a class. Well, fuck you. You still get to pay us for our 2-hour lectures and for the 15 by 10 foot closet we house you in. Oh, you have to give out because you ran out of money. Well, fuck you again. You're going to owe us a debt that's going to take half your lifetime to pay back. Do you agree with me? That's what he wrote?
I would agree.
I want you to flip to page 790 if you could. I'm going to go about halfway down the page. 10th line down. I barely made it through 9th grade mentally as my depression was rough. Then I made it to 10th grade and I have fully lost control. How the hell am I supposed to make it 2 more years when I have already lost my breaking point? This morning, I woke up to my mom having one of her worst rants about how we have no money and can't pay the bills. This just furthers my desire to shoot up the school or do something else. I have no happiness or optimism left in me as I am a burden to my parents. Would you agree with me? That's what he wrote?
I would agree.
All right, that is all of the journal that I want to go through. Now, your office spent an appreciable amount of time speaking with all of the staff who interacted with Ethan from Oxford High School. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And it's your understanding that on November 29th, the day before the shooting in first hour, Ethan's teacher, Miss Kubina, noticed that Ethan was looking at pictures of bullets on his phone and that she sent Pam Fine an email about that, correct?
Yes. That's correct.
Your Honor, I'll draw your attention to Exhibit C.
Thank you.
And that following school on the 29th, she was thinking about Ethan and went to look at some of the assignments that he had turned in that year. Do you recall that?
I'm sorry, Miss.
Oh, I apologize. Speaking still of Miss Kubina, do you recall that in her interview, she discussed that after that incident with Ethan looking up those things that morning, she went back to the classroom and tried to look at some of the previous assignments that he had turned in?
Yes.
And isn't it true that she actually found an index card that Ethan had filled out at the beginning of the year? And Ethan had drawn a picture of a person holding a gun in front of a brick building, correct? The gun was erased, but she said you could still see it, correct? She passed this information along to the dean and the counselor by email, and that email was sent that same day on the 29th, correct?
That's correct.
Following that email, is it your understanding that Pam Fine brought Ethan down and discussed that it was inappropriate to look up bullets at school?
Yes.
And in that interview, is it your understanding that Ethan disclosed that he had just been at a shooting range with his mom?
Yes.
And it's your understanding that Miss Fine left Jennifer a voicemail about the incident, but Jennifer did not call back, correct?
Yes, that's my understanding.
And in your investigation, you even found a text exchanged following that call between Jennifer and Ethan, correct?
Yes.
Where Jennifer tells Ethan, try not to get caught, correct?
Yes.
Now, the following day at 8:45, Miss Fine tells you or tells someone in your office that she receives an email from teacher Alice Karpinski, correct?
That's correct.
That Ethan was watching violent videos of a guy gunning down people while in class, correct?
Yes.
Yes, it's page 300
Thank you.
in Exhibit F.
Exhibit F only goes to 218.
The pages may not be completely in order based on whose interview was given. I apologize. That is the text message section. I need you to direct your attention to Exhibit C.
See? What page is that again?
Yes, we are looking at the email that she actually sent. I believe it's page 300. I think it may be a different page because I'm looking at two sets of discovery. So let me just ask the question again, because I don't know specifically if you'll be able to find it in your
Okay,
binder.
sorry.
That's all right. So it's your understanding that the following day, so we're talking about November 30th now, at 8:45 in the morning, Miss Fine receives an email from a teacher, Alice Karpinski. Do you agree with me?
I do agree with you.
All right. And in that email, she is telling them that Ethan was watching violent videos of a shooting.
Yeah, it's my recollection that it was someone, a person shooting people, but it was a movie. It didn't appear to be a real life event or something of that nature.
Right,
I
that
think
would,
that's my understanding of it.
okay. So a video of a movie or some sort of scenario where someone is being shot, correct?
Yes,
Okay. And it's your understanding that that email was not just sent to Miss Fine, but it was also sent to Mr. Hopkins, correct?
yes.
And who is Sean Hopkins?
He's the school counselor.
It does not appear that action was taken just based off of that email, correct?
That's correct.
So that's at 8:45 a.m. Then at 9:32 a.m.
Can I go back real quick?
Absolutely.
So the action, There was, you mean action with the defendant? No, but there was, I think there was discussion about it.
But he wasn't pulled down to the office immediately following
You're
that.
correct.
Okay. All right, so 9:32 a.m. Another email is sent, and it's my understanding that that email is sent to Pam, Nick, and Sean. They all receive an email from yet another teacher. I believe it's Becky Morgan, and that's the picture of the assignment that you were previously shown, correct?
Yes,
So in your multiple interviews with Sean Hopkins, he told law enforcement that he was alerted to a problem by Becky Morgan, who was Ethan's math teacher, correct? And he went to retrieve Ethan at 9:14 a.m. and then takes him to the counseling office, correct? So you're understanding that his backpack with the gun in it was left in the classroom, correct? Now, the document that you were previously shown that caused the concern, it's your understanding that by the time the actual assignment got brought down to the counseling office, Ethan had altered or crossed out the most worrisome things that were on that page, correct?
yes,
I believe he crossed out the words "help me" and crossed out the gun, correct?
I think that's correct, yes.
So according to the timeline that was provided by the prosecutor's office, would you would agree with me that sometime between 9:14 and 10:45, James and Jennifer come to the school, they meet with Ethan, and they're in that counselor's office, correct?
Yes,
And is it your understanding that in that meeting, Ethan discussed that he was sad about the argument that he had with his parents, correct?
I don't recall that exactly. I don't.
Do you recall that he mentioned his dog dying?
Yes, that's it, yes,
How about his friend going away for a lengthy period of time?
yes.
And he told them he had no one to talk to.
I don't specifically recall that.
Do you recall that Ethan's parents acknowledged that Ethan was more sad lately?
I'm sorry, I don't specifically recall it.
That's all right. Nothing in any of the discovery that any counselor or staff that you've reviewed, did any counselor or staff member ask if he was suicidal? Specifically ask that question.
So repeat that again?
Sure.
Nothing in my investigation or?
Correct. In all of your investigations, speaking to all of the individuals that were in that counseling session with the parents or in that meeting with the parents, you are not aware that someone actually performed some sort of assessment to see if he was suicidal.
I see. I don't believe there was an assessment. I believe Mr. Hopkins said that he thought there was potential for suicidal ideation.
It's your understanding that both parents were resistive to taking Ethan home with them, correct?
Yes,
Both parents indicated that they had to go back to work.
that's correct.
To the best of your knowledge, James and Jennifer did not disclose that they had purchased the very weapon that was in his backpack for him as an early Christmas gift, correct?
To the school?
Yes.
Correct.
To the best of your knowledge, neither Sean Hopkins or Nick Ejak asked James and Jennifer specifically if there were guns in the home or if Ethan had access to weapons.
I agree, yes.
Ethan's backpack was never searched, correct?
To my knowledge, it was not.
Ethan's locker was never searched, correct?
I don't think they were even using lockers during COVID, but no, I don't believe it was.
So now, even though we have a child who on day 2 of being in trouble for looking up bullets, shooting videos, and drawing weapons with graphic scenes and actually writing the words, "help me," he was not sent home, correct?
Correct.
CPS was not called, correct?
That's my knowledge.
You're not aware that 911 was called for a welfare check or a proper evaluation to see how Ethan was doing, correct?
I'm not aware. Correct.
During direct, Mr. Keast asked you about what was in that backpack, and you had mentioned that there were a number of pages. What was the number? I think you actually remembered the number specifically of
Of
pages.
the
The
assignments.
school assignments.
Yeah, I think it was 96, I believe.
And how many did you say had drawings of either weapons or bullets on them?
I'm not sure. I can't recall how many. I know there was, because I specifically counted, there was 52 guns drawn in that stack of papers, but I don't know how many pages actually were drawn on.
Understood. All right, I want to talk about parents' employment. As part of your investigation, you looked into the current employment and past employment of James and Jennifer, correct?
Yes,
You would agree with me that in reviewing their text messages with each other, money troubles was something that they were dealing with pretty frequently.
yes, I would agree.
Do you agree with me that James had a spotty employment record, and at the time of the offense, he was working for DoorDash?
Yes,
You also spent a good amount of time investigating Jennifer's employment and speaking to her boss and coworkers, correct?
yes.
Jennifer did have steady employment, correct?
Here, so yes,
In your investigation, did you become aware if Jennifer could have purchased health insurance for Ethan?
all,
In your investigation into Jennifer's employer, you came to understand that the work had a family first attitude. Would you agree?
that's what they testified to, yes.
Yes. So in fact, if Jennifer was unable to return to work on November 30th because Ethan had to go home, it wouldn't have been a problem. Is that your understanding?
That's my understanding.
It's also your understanding that right after meeting in the principal's office, James went and I believe he delivered an order of food, correct?
My understanding, yes.
I want to talk a little bit about the messages between James and Jennifer, and there are a lot of them. Would you agree with me that the messages are replete with discussions on who was picking up alcohol to drink, who was buying cigarettes, conversations about marijuana, and Xanax pills?
I'm embarrassed to ask, what is replete?
Oh, that there are a lot of,
Yes, there was several.
yes. Now let's talk about the crime itself. As we saw in the video, when the police arrived at the school, Ethan was out in the hallway with his hands up, correct?
Yes,
He had already put down the gun, correct?
correct.
He followed all the commands of the deputies.
Yes,
He was placed into handcuffs without issue, correct?
correct.
He gave the officers his name.
Yes,
In the backpack that we described, he did not have any bombs or Molotov cocktails, correct?
we did not.
He did not have a knife, correct?
No.
He went willingly into the police car.
Yes,
He answered questions that he was acting alone, correct?
yes,
He answered questions about there being no bombs.
yes,
Was there unused ammunition found?
yes, there was.
Do you know approximately how many rounds?
I believe it was 18.
After being taken to the substation, at some point in time, Ethan was then taken to Children's Village, correct?
Yes,
You weren't made aware of any issues that arose during transport, correct?
was not made aware of any issues, no.
You were not made aware that there was any issues at Children's Village, correct?
Correct.
He was then transported to the Oakland County Jail. You were not made aware of any issues with his behavior during that transport, were you?
Correct.
Now, following the crime, after learning of the shooting, is it your understanding that James went home immediately to go and look to see if his gun was missing?
Yes, that's my understanding.
He then called what I believe was an off-duty police officer first before 911, is that correct?
Yes,
And at some point in time, he called 911 to report that he believed that his son took the gun and could be the shooter.
yes, that's correct.
And in your investigation, you observed a text around the same time as I'm sure 911 started being called. Jennifer texted Ethan, "Don't do it." Is that correct?
Her text was after the influx of 911 calls.
You also found a text message, James texting Ethan, "Call me now."
Yes, that's correct.
You would agree with me that in reviewing hundreds of text messages between students and parents on that day when the shootings began, that the messages that Jennifer and James sent were unlike those of hundreds of other caring parents?
Yes, I would agree.
In your review of Jennifer's text messages with her coworkers, would you agree with me that Jennifer messages that Ethan isn't going to get out of this? We need to save ourselves.
Yes, that was written or texted, I should say.
You would agree with me that there are zero messages where either James or Jennifer thoughtfully discuss that they themselves have failed by not treating Ethan's mental illness.
So I'm sorry, can we?
Yes. Someone that is 15 years old, are they able to go into a shooting range and shoot themselves?
Shoot themselves?
Shoot by themselves. I apologize.
It's okay. No, they're not.
So is a parent's required?
Yes,
A 15-year-old individual is not able to go and purchase a weapon by themselves, correct?
that's correct.
And in all of the videos that you found from shooting ranges, Ethan was either there with mom or dad, correct?
Yes,
And were all the guns purchased by dad in his name?
to my knowledge, yes.
I now want to move to the search of the Crumbly home that occurred following the incident at the high school, correct?
Yes,
And let's talk about what was in Ethan's room. Would you agree with me that there were 2 silhouette targets with bullet holes in them?
I would agree.
Miscellaneous shell casings in a dish next to the bed,
I would agree.
and an air rifle sitting on a chair.
I don't recall specifically, but I do recall there being an air rifle.
I want to talk about the other weapons that were found. I believe they were found in the shed. The report references that a Woodstock Red Ryder BB gun was found, a 760 Pump Master BB gun was found, an SNR 357 revolver style BB gun, 6 cartridges for the BB gun, and a Witness BB gun with a magazine. Would you agree with me that there was a number of weapons found in that shed? Do you agree with me that there was a failed marijuana grow?
Gotta give me a second, I gotta.
Of course, take your time. The last
Um,
remember.
I believe yes, she was first spoken to at her home.
And during that interview, she had told the police that Ethan had been upset because his friend had left and his dog had died.
That's my recollection of it, yes.
And you were actually able to confirm that Ethan's closest friend, I think Mr. Keese asked you how many messages these two shared. It was a lot. It was all day long, every day. You were able to confirm that juvenile actually had left at the end of October without much notice to Ethan,
Yes.
correct?
Correct.
In the interview that was done with James at the home during the search, isn't it true that he told the police that he purchased a Sig Sauer 9mm handgun and he had it hidden in the armoire in the case and the bullets were hidden in a separate area?
That's my recollection.
And after he saw all of the cops, he raced home, and that's when he found the gun missing.
Yes.
At some point, after your investigation, it was announced publicly that the parents were going to be charged, correct?
Yes.
And instead of walking into a police station or walking into the Rochester District Court, isn't it true that James and Jennifer bought burner phones, ditched their car, left Oxford, and left their son sitting in jail?
Repeat that.
Of course,
I just
I'll
wanna
break
make
it
sure I
down.
get them into the correct. Go ahead.
After it was made publicly announced that the parents were going to be charged, they didn't turn themselves into the police station or the court, correct?
They did not.
And isn't it true that they bought burner phones?
It's my understanding at the advice of their counsel, but yes.
They ditched their car.
No, they drove their car. They had one car. They didn't drive, but they drove the other.
Okay, so they left one
They
car,
left one car.
and I believe, was that at a hotel parking lot?
Plus,
Yes. And they left Oxford, correct?
yes,
In fact, when they were arrested, they were hiding out in Detroit, correct?
yes,
You also found proof that the parents went to the bank and drained Ethan Crumbly's bank account, correct?
yes.
I want to talk a little bit about the questions you were asked about the jail and the tablet.
Okay.
I think you phrased it, or Mr. Keys phrased it, that he bypassed security. Is it your understanding that the password was saved but was visible?
It's, I think I don't know computers or tablets all that well, but I think on the tablet, it was, you had to go into the settings, search for the password, and then, but yeah, it allegedly, or from what I understand, it was saved.
And isn't it true that when Ethan was questioned by someone there at the jail, he explained exactly what happened?
It sounds like that, yes.
And isn't it true that he stated he had the tablet unlocked for roughly 2 weeks, or a lengthy period of time before they were actually caught?
That sounds about right, yes.
And in that body camera footage, isn't it true that Ethan explained exactly how he got the password? And that he said multiple times, I tried not to look at that website. I tried really hard.
Yes.
May I have one moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
I have no further questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Redirect.
Thank you. Starting with the last question, Lieutenant. So if I'm understanding this correctly, then the defendant couldn't help himself. Not like,
That's the way I understood it, yes.
go back through a few things the counsel asked you regarding the journal. You were asked about a passage where he wrote that he wished that he would be sent down to the office so he would be caught and prevented from the shooting.
Correct.
He actually was sent down to the office twice. Is that right?
That's right,
So he was sent to the office November 29th. He was sent to the office again November the 30th.
yes.
He sat in the counselor's office for 90 minutes. His parents were there, and he never once stopped himself from the shooting.
That's all correct.
And in fact, November the 30th, before he ever even went down the office, before he was caught by the teacher, he sent a text message indicating his intent to do something, quote, really bad.
Yes.
Now, you were asked about a journal entry where the defendant expressed not being happy in months. I don't remember last time I was happy. Where's the effect? Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
You watched the video of the defendant torturing that bird. You watched the video of the defendant shooting the Oxford High School students. You watched the video of the defendant in the back of the police car after he was arrested. Now, tell me, did the defendant appear happy or sad when he was torturing that baby bird?
Happy.
Okay. And why do you say that?
If you watch the video, you'll, again, we talked about it earlier, the inflection in his voice. Also, he writes about how happy it makes him to do these awful things.
And what about the defendant's demeanor when you observe him after he's arrested in the back of the police car? Is he coherent
Yes.
when he speaks with officers? Okay. Is he crumbling, crying
No,
at any point on November the 30th when he gave up, when he was arrested in the back of that patrol car, did he appear that he was crying?
No, it doesn't appear that way at all.
What about his demeanor when he exited the bathroom adjacent to room 258 and he began the shooting? What about his demeanor there?
Well, I mean, obviously, I've had the opportunity to analyze this video 1,000 times, and when you follow the defendant's, days prior or whatever, he slouches a lot. But on the shooting video, as soon as he comes out of the bathroom, he's standing as tall as I've ever seen him stand and walk around that school.
You agree with me that he acted with purpose when he exited the bathroom in room 30?
Yeah, and again, with confidence, it looked like.
Now, you were asked about some of the teacher interviews, and obviously this is a massive investigation, and I think in total we're at 5 or 6 terabytes of data. Would that be right?
Yes.
Okay. So some of the teacher interviews that you were asked about, they talk about that the defendant didn't have any other problems with students.
Yes.
So I'm going to confirm that he was not bullied.
No.
He was not thrown in a locker.
There's no evidence to suggest any of that. No.
Nobody beat him up. Nobody messed with him.
No.
Thank you, Judge. I'm done.
Thank you. With that being said, any reason why this witness should not be excused?
Thank you.
Enough for people. Here's the OIC, so we ask that he remain throughout the hearing.
Thank you, sir. You may step down. You may also stay in the courtroom if you wish.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. With that being said, we're going to break very briefly for lunch. I'm going to return at approximately 12:30. I believe that will give the,
12:40
oh,
right now.
excuse me, 1:30, excuse me. That will give the parties enough time to grab food as well as the defendant to get food down in the lockup as well. With that being said, I will see you all at 12:30. Anything we need to address before the court takes recess?
No,
I believe so, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you. With that being said, everyone in the courtroom, please be seated until the defendant has exited the courtroom. Deputies may take the defendant. Thank you.